Just, you know,
You don't go to church?
I don't go to church.
I
Oh,
go to
play
church.
bingo.
That's sort of like a lottery ticket to get to heaven, right?
I don't know. I never thought of it that way.
No, you're going to get to heaven. Just what you're going to meet when you get there. Where you're going to go?
The casino.
Oh boy,
I guess
We
I'll get
don't-
one of
we
the
digress. We are digressing here.
Mhm.
Live scream, live scream. We all scream for live scream.
Um,
Live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook family. We're going to have an introduction very soon from Mr.
Hello, everybody.
Pork Cunningham.
My name is Pork Cunningham, and I'm here with the world's handsomest man, Frank Boulevard Baines. Why, thank you for your applause. Ladies, take a deep breath and don't faint at the beauty of the man. And anyway, we're happy to be here today.
That's the best picture of Brian I've seen this morning. Oh, perhaps.
We're
And
in the web. We're in the giant spider's web.
and we're
It
joined
is
by
land. Pork
by
Cunningham.
Mustanger Bill, sometimes known as, not often, but sometimes known as William Morris.
Yeah, on occasion.
Yeah.
wait a minute.
You're gonna talk to us today about all kind of fun things, right?
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a cigarette commercial?
Oh, that was Philip Morris.
Yeah, it was Philip.
Oh,
Morris.
wrong one.
Yeah.
Dang.
William
They also had a
Morris.
talent agency.
Yeah, William Morris has the agency.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Mhm.
You
And
know,
I am related to Philip Morris.
You are?
Yes.
Do you have his money? His kind
No,
of money?
no, wouldn't want it because everybody else wants it.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, anyway, yeah, it was kind of fun hanging out for the weekend, and Peter Thom was there, and we also had Sloppy Joe, or a few of the admins, and I got a couple stingers in on you, Thom.
Sam Chandler.
Hmm?
I said I got a couple stingers in on you.
Yes, you did. Yeah. I got one or two on you too. You didn't come away unscathed, I guarantee you. Matter of
Anyway.
fact, we were having a great time.
Yeah.
They kind of
Yeah.
put us aside by ourselves and let us pick on one another.
Well, how are you doing, William? Or should we? Yeah, I guess we'll call you William.
Yeah, you call him Bill.
Call you Bill?
Yeah.
Mr. Bill, or?
Mustang Bill.
They call me Mr. Bill, Buffalo Bill, Wild Bill, just take your
Oh,
pick.
wow. Oh, wow. Wild Bill.
Well, yeah,
Bill, I like that.
I'm surprised I made it to this age.
Well, how old are you now?
59.
oh my
Oh,
gosh.
well, that's- you
9.
just-
I've
you
got
just-
You're a-
socks.
Yeah,
The
I've got
youngest
socks
guy
older
here.
than that.
I got kids almost now.
The Tom's got holes in his underwear older than that.
Yes, no doubt.
You're almost 10 years junior to the second youngest guy in this panel. You want to guess who that would be?
Well, I have to say probably Michael.
Well, yeah, with his outstanding good looks, it's hard to believe.
Yeah,
What's
isn't he
that?
like 17?
16.
I'm 73. I think Brian's 66 to
69.
something.
Be
What,
69 this
Reverse
year.
all that?
61.
61.
Brian will be
No.
69 in October.
Well,
In October.
look how young you look. It's hard to just pin it down.
Oh, that is true. He does look good for his age.
I look almost as good for my age as you do for your age. That
But
makes
I
sense.
just need some of this. You got too much of that. I need some of it.
Hey, don't be taken in by that. His has got a hole in the back.
Well, I got a pretty good crease in the back of mine.
It doesn't if I slick it back just right.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
cover
look,
that hole.
Mhm.
little greasy kid stuff, and you got a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue said she shot it. You had a yarmulke on one day.
So Bill, before we get into your story, why don't you tell us how you met, how you're associated and with Arla and Thom?
Well, I've read all his books, but as far as Thom goes, somebody, I think it was Sandra, that put out that Thom was looking for somebody that's had face-to-face encounters, that he was writing a book. And so I contacted Thom. I said, well, I got a story for you. And I said, this happened to me when I was 17. And Tom's like, well, if it's good enough, he says, I'll bump somebody out of the book and put you in there. Well,
That must have been me.
It was.
he's like, well, I'm in there. But what Thom doesn't know is that was actually my second encounter. My first one, I actually still didn't believe in Sasquatch because I just didn't know what I saw, what I was sitting there looking at. It's one of those things where your mind just can't wrap around what you're seeing, because I didn't believe in Sasquatch at all. This isn't something I thought I'd be doing at this point in my life either. So it's been an interesting journey.
So how long ago was that when you had your first encounter?
My first encounter was in October of 1980. I was hunting behind my home. And that's pretty much where 3 of my 4 first encounters happened, was close to my home. I mean, within yards of my home. And I lived up on a ranch called the S. Diamond Ranch in Myrtle Creek, Oregon, and up on a little hill. And we were there probably 2.5, 3 years, right around that neighborhood. But yeah, I was going hunting. I was 16. Hard to find people to hunt with, because they say, oh, we'll come pick you up. See you about 3:30 in the morning. Well, here comes 3:30, here comes 4, here comes 4:30. It's like, well, I don't think this is going to happen. So I decided to start going solo hunting. So I just started to hunt the property. And I'll just go ahead and run through my first encounter while we're at it. And so I started out, it was a nice sunny morning, just probably about 8:30 in the morning, I would say. Right behind my place where it was, there's a little rise up. What they did is they cut a spot out in the hill right there towards close to the top to put the mobile home in that we were living in. And so the bank is right behind it, and I can just go right up over the top. The property was, it's over 500 acres. So I basically had over 3/4 of a square mile to go hunt on, which is pretty good. I had it to myself. It's a sheep ranch. So I headed up above my place and started walking up over the hill. Just over the top, there's a gate there. There's a roadway that used to go up through there. And so I went through the gate, went down about 10 yards, and I saw something move to my left. And because when you're hunting, you're looking for any type of movement. We're looking for deer's ears to do the little twitch from the bugs. And I look over and I see what to me in my mind at the time was a giant rabbit, just because of the way it was sitting and crouched down. It had its legs back behind, its arms down, alongside, and its head down. And I could see that its coat was tricolored. It was black, a dark brown, and reds. And just kind of blended. It was kind of splotchy. And I sat there, had my rifle. I never raised my rifle towards it or anything. I just sat there and stared for about 2 minutes trying to figure out what the heck I was looking at. And next thing I know, it took a dive into the brush, and I never heard another sound or saw another thing after that. And I just kind of stood there for a few minutes and going, I'm not sure exactly what I just saw. But I do remember that when it took the dive, I could see hands. because it did it like a diver. It, kind of like a Superman dive, hands out in front of it and just dove right into the brush. And I never heard another sound after that. It's like, how could something like that just disappear? Because this is relatively dry at the time, and it's like walking on potato chips when you're in the woods, and not to hear another sound was kind of perplexing to me. So I just that's one of those things where I just kind of buried deep and just try to forget about it because I didn't know what the heck I saw. And I didn't believe in Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I had no clue that that's even what I possibly saw at the time. It just took years later for me to kind of realize what I actually saw, and started replaying that back in my mind going, wow, I actually had an encounter before I had my face to face and didn't know it. So I figure that's probably what caused my face to face is a curiosity. It wasn't the same Sasquatch though that I went face to face with. Now my other sightings from 2, 3, 4, and 6, or no, 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all the same Sasquatch.
Do you want to move into your face, or did you want to talk about how you met Arla or know Arla? Or
Well, actually, my first thing that put Arla on my radar was her book. I actually I've been collecting started collecting books on Sasquatch, and hers, I ended up collecting one of hers, and I actually I was headed for the casino. What is that? Spirit Winds, over just out of Tillamook. And I let my girlfriend go at the time. I said, "No, you go to the casino, go have fun. I'm going to sit back and read." I started reading Arla's book, and I'm going, "This was about right here, right here in Tillamook." Because she was mentioning Tillamook and the little ceremonies that she took place in and everything. And that's when I was like, I need to meet this lady, because I'm reading about her things, and I like the demeanor everything was written in, and that it was all very done in a calm way, because I changed the way I felt about Sasquatch, because I'll tell you, my number 2 encounter was terrifying to me because it was just out of the blue and it just happened. So, but yeah, it was her book that actually got me to find out, and Thom had talked about her a little bit when I'd gone up to Thom's place a couple years ago after a Squatch Fest. And so I sent her an invite, and rest is history. I chatted her once in a while here and there and comment back and forth on different things. And but this my first time of seeing her face to face, relatively in person, virtually. And it's very nice to meet you, Arla.
Oh, it's nice to meet you too. And I that makes me happy about the book because, the purpose of the book is to try to help people. Yeah, I talk about, the Sasquatch and things they do and other things, but it's really about the human element in all of this.
What I got a lot of it is more about the spirituality of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm finding out is this whole thing with me now has become kind of a quest to raise my vibration, my personal
Yes.
vibration and spirituality. And they're teaching me all kinds of things, and they're doing it in such a subtle way. They're making me kind of figure it out. They
Yes.
pull these little surprises on you, and it's like, and I have to, I told Thom when I called him here a few weeks ago, I said, "Thom, am I going nuts?" He said, no, that stuff happens. You're okay, don't worry. I'm all, I question my sanity almost daily, over some of the things that happen. And it's like, I've heard about it. Everybody calls it the woo camp, but it's like, well, I know they're physical. They're flesh and blood. I've been face to face with them. I've smelled them. I haven't touched them yet. I'm hoping in the future that becomes a reality, actually. And but yeah, I'm experiencing too many things to say that there isn't something that's way advanced with these creatures. Probably well beyond us. But I think it's all things that we used to be able to do at one time.
Yep. Very much so.
it's just we got habituated and we started changing our environment to suit us, and they adapted to their environment completely the opposite of us. So I think that's where things started to change. And we lost a lot of those abilities. I've had abilities growing up, and clairvoyance and foresight and all kinds of different things, including mind reading. And but I had a few things scare me when I was about 14 years old, and so I kind of put that away, and I've really kind of squashed it down ever since then. And now they're starting to reawaken that stuff in me,
Yep.
and I've asked them to. I told them I can handle that stuff now, but back then I really did see the monsters under the bed, and it's just it's a reawakening for me. It really is, because
That's awesome.
I never thought I'd be doing this at this point in my life, ever. Especially the amount of time I've spent with them. My sighting number 5 lasted for 45 minutes.
Let me interject here for a second. Barb Shoop is saying that she's having difficulty hearing your voice. So she can hear the rest of us, but she says yours is very squelchy and difficult to listen to. Do you guys find that too? I can hear you fine.
I hear him good.
Sounds a little muffled, but it's not too bad.
How about anybody in group want to comment? I don't know if you can do anything about it anyway, or
Yeah, my volume's all the way up. Everything's tuned in. So
you sound perfect to me. I don't know what.
Yeah.
What
well, thank you. Thank you very much. Michael, you have competition.
Almost says she hears them well.
She hears them well.
Well, that's what she said. Well, she said well. So
Well, what?
I hear him well.
Stop
Who's
laughing.
on
She used proper English. You
Who's
just
on
didn't
first?
recognize it.
Yeah.
Maybe she meant he sounds like he's in a well.
Oh, that could be.
Okay.
Here, let me
Okay.
speak into a cup.
Okay, so no, okay, well then it sounds, from what you're describing, it sounds very much like you've got kind of like a teacher-student relationship with them.
It's starting to feel that way, and it's more like it's between that and actually a friendship, because they actually turned the juvenile loose with me.
Yeah.
They let him hang out with me, so I figure I've really got their trust for that to happen.
Well, maybe they just want a babysitter.
Well, that's possible too. Because I remember one day I was down in my research area, and there's an X there, and which was recently destroyed, and I'm thinking it was probably the Forest Service, because some things have been disappearing. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you, Thom, is when they put a couple blue marks on a tree, does that mean it's slated to be cut?
Pardon me?
Blue marks, little blue paint marks.
Oh, you mean when the Forest Service does that?
Yes.
Yeah, generally speaking,
Okay.
that's a selected tree. Yeah.
If you can see this is the X.
Wow, it's a nice one.
I called that the phone booth. Well, one day I pulled up
Let
there.
me see that again, please. I'd call that an
Asterisk.
asterisk, not an X.
Yep.
No,
It could be a tree
it's
behind
actually
it.
not connected. It's not touching the tree.
Doesn't
And
have to be.
one part in this side, there's a madrone right here.
Mhm.
It's that part of the X is sitting right in the saddle of it. I see they use saddle. They tend to use saddles and trees a lot.
Mhm.
But under that X was a stone.
Mhm.
And I have pictures of it to where when the stone was laid down, you can see the outline of the stone, and this was standing up just under the X, just like this.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I call it the phone book because every time I'd show up there, I would hear the juvenile, which I call him JJ.
Mhm.
And one day, I heard just the craziest scream from down the mountain, and I think it was because they told him, "We'll go play with Bill." I seriously think it was a scream of excitement, because it was a couple minutes later I hear thump 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 thump.
Mhm.
And they stop, thump 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 thump, real loud, heavy print, steps, and he's coming up the hill. then the last set of steps, I should have seen him. I hear him. I'm like, they're close enough. I should have seen, because everything's clear. I can see right down into the woods. I can see down probably 100 yards. And I hear the thump, thump, thump. And I'm like, well, where is he? He was probably cloaked, from what I understand. You know, they have that ability. Next thing I know, there's a culvert that's off to my left, which is just on the east side of the X here. And I hear something in the culvert playing in the water, to where it's like when you run your arm across and make a wave, that it just kind of builds up and splooshes out. He was inside the culvert playing, doing that.
Mhm.
And I like that word, splooshes. Is that a proper English word, Thom? Splooshes?
Yeah, let's check our dictionary, Mr. Tater Thom.
Well,
Don't
I
have-
asked him because when I wrote my book, he was telling me a lot of the
Oh.
words weren't real words. So is splooshes a word?
Oh, him and
Absolutely a
his.
word. He just spoke it. How could it not be a word?
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, he edited my book and he left my words in.
Well,
Wow.
some of them.
Yeah,
I
That's
didn't-
because it was you, Arla. He's
Wow.
not going to correct you.
Arlie, that's the only book that I have ever left cattywampus in.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah, that was more out of fear and trepidation.
Yes,
Yeah,
there is that.
right.
There was that factor.
now.
Because
You know, and buttectomy. I mean,
Yeah,
that's an
buttectomy, that
Arla
was in it.
word, you
Well,
know.
I could just go. You could just do that with the nose thing, and Thom would evaporate.
Isms. Yes, I know them well. That's why Arla and I comment back and forth when she does some of those Arla isms. I love it.
Yeah, my isms.
Arla is the only person I have ever known to get the Canadian Border Patrol laughing.
Yeah, they're
I mean-
pretty serious people.
I mean, those guys have their sense of humor surgically removed when they take that job. And she got them laughing. And this was after Sue and I had met every one of them face to face in our crossings of the border.
And not from boot to car, like in
No,
their office
Yeah.
for interrogation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they ship me back over the border.
Yeah. So by the way,
Well, I think
where do you live now, Bill?
I'm in Medford, Oregon.
Oh, well, you'll have to come up here one day and meet and come up and see me. And
Well,
Come
I've got my passport paper sitting right over there, and I'm going to be going to the post office today and sending that in.
oh, so you're planning on coming up in September? Or is that the plan?
I'm planning on it.
Awesome. Yay.
Well, you know, I told you that I told Brian when Brian and I talked. We talked for almost 2 hours on a call, and we had a good time. But I told him, well, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it this year or be able to come up, but I'd probably, you know, be able to do it next year. Well, I think my Squatches want me to be there
Mm.
because they're making it all happen.
I know a guy that needs a ride.
Well, you said you wanted to stay in a motel. You didn't want to camp
No,
out.
Sue came up with a solution over the
What's that?
weekend. She said, why don't we just rent a hospital bed? We've got the enclosure there,
There you go.
and you know, we can find a current bush to plug in. And you know, I mean, there's sources of power. We can rent a generator or a power, you know, one of the little power boxes. All we gotta do is raise and lower the bed once a day each way.
What'd you do
Yeah.
for this last camp out?
Came home.
That's what I thought. I figured it was close enough to your place. You probably went home.
Yeah, it's only 30,
Yeah.
30 minutes from my place. Yeah.
And we'll get Mr. Beans out to make tacos for everybody.
Mhm.
Tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of digressing here a little bit, but that's okay because that's what we kind of do. But so why don't you tell us about your second encounter that was so scary? And then I also want to get into like your relationship with them and the teachings that they're teaching and stuff like that, because that's very important. But well, let's run through some of your encounters first.
Okay, well, number 2 which is in Tom's book, And that's the main one Thom knew about. The other ones, I'm just now getting into the thing. This is why I've kind of stayed incognito for so long, is just getting comfortable with actually talking about it. So what happened was my mom and I had gotten a little bit of an argument, and I was a little peeved. And we lived 3.5 miles from town. I often walked all the time, back and forth to town all the time. And so I took off walking down. I remember it had to be between 7 and 8 o'clock because Mork and Mindy was coming on. That was my favorite show. They didn't do repeats of shows then, so I was really mad to leave. Even madder because I'm missing my Mork and Mindy. But I headed for town. Went in town, wandered around, met up with some friends in some apartments I used to live in. And I kind of hung out there. They're on a place called Johnson Street, and the creek runs right behind the place, which is Myrtle Creek. And I used to pan a lot of gold and different things through there. It was one of my play places, and spend a lot of time just relaxing in a tree somewhere. But well, it was getting late, so even that night, I remember I actually tried to befriend a skunk that would come up, and he was coming up on us while we were out there talking and chatting. And because the back of the apartments where the little patio place is faces the creek, so it's a nice little area. And so, well, it was getting late. They were getting ready to go to bed. It's probably just before 11 o'clock at night. So I said my goodbyes and everything, and started to head for home. So I have to cross that creek. There's a little bridge right there on Johnson Street. So as I was crossing that, I could smell something that I knew I'd been around the skunk earlier, but this was different. It smelled like wet dog, skunk, and dead carcass, all combined in one thing. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That's kind of curious. I didn't know about Bigfoot smell or anything else. And I could hear that there was something in the creek. It's that sound, when you're walking up a creek, it's that sound of cavitation as you're moving your legs forward, and that air kind of cups in behind you. And I was hearing that as I was crossing the bridge, and I thought about that and went, oh, that's kind of interesting. What the heck is somebody doing in the creek at 11 o'clock at night? And so I just continued on. I didn't think much of it. And I have to cross the creek one more time. So I go down, then I take a left, and I make another left, and I cross the creek again right there at an area which is called South Myrtle. An area called the Y, because it's South Myrtle goes one way and North Myrtle goes the other way, and it is an actual Y. Then it runs up into a single street going up into town, which passes the schools, the elementary, everything's right there, junior high, and well, I smelled that smell again, and I heard that cavitation sound again. Well, there at the Y, there's a market there that was called, of course, fittingly, Super Y Market. So I cut up a trail that goes behind the market, just kind of a little shortcut. It's a little hill right there, and cut up across the parking lot. And I started walking up North Myrtle because I lived 3.5 miles out. So I was like, well, all right, I'm cooled off now. Time to head for home. I never thought about the smells or anything. It was just like, that was just odd, And I get past just the 1 mile marker, and I hear 4 steps, and not only heard them, the distance between the roadway and just off the side of the roadway was 3 feet. And to be able to feel something stepping up to that 3-foot level, is just kind of pretty odd in itself. I thought, well, maybe somebody's horse got loose or cow got loose, but it sounded a whole lot heavier. But I heard 4 steps, thoom, 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 thoom. And on the 4th step, I looked to my right, and it was right there. And just 2 feet away. And because of the 3-foot drop, that put him about 9 feet, and put us actual face to face. And all I could see and focused on was these illuminated green eyes. And I was praying for a car. Anyway, drive by now. And I couldn't move. I was frozen, and I do remember my thoughts of telling my feet, don't fail me now, in my mind. And then I was like, damn it, feet, you failed me. And I'm surprised I didn't soil myself. But like I said, I couldn't move. I was just petrified. And right there, it was like I understood a phrase that I heard when I was younger growing up called a bolt of fear, that it just strikes you and you're incapacitated.
Bill,
And that's kind of what it,
not wanting
go
to
ahead, Tom.
not wanting to interrupt, but you're saying you were frozen. Was that a physical thing or was it a mental?
I don't know. I could not move.
You couldn't move.
I wanted, believe me,
okay.
I wanted to move.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wanted to beat feet.
Yeah, that happened to
Kathy.
Kathy too. So that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering the
Yep.
same thing, Tom, when
Mm,
when Bill said that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't move. You know, I tried to move out of there.
It happened
So
to Kyle Gibson too, when on his little routine, the time he was swam ashore and met one face to face at the shore, and he stood up and they were eyeball to eyeball, and
wow.
it frozen, and he said if you'd have shot me, I couldn't have fallen down.
Yeah,
It was
that's
just
that's
locked.
pretty much
Yeah.
no, that's actually pretty much how it felt. You
Yeah.
know, if he'd have shot me, I was just stood right there, I wouldn't have moved.
Mhm.
You know, I was a total statue. And I tried to move and I couldn't move at all
Mhm.
whatsoever.
So
I couldn't
exactly how far apart were you? Like a foot?
move. About 2 feet.
And face to face, that must have been
Yep.
quite
Face to
dramatic
face.
for you. So if
I
you
was
wanted to,
was
When you said that his eyes were luminous green, could you say how what kind of lighting system you're in? Or you're in the back of
I
a
would say that they were self-illuminating.
right.
It was not an eye shine because there was nothing. It was very dark. I can see his outline. But the eyes is what I was fixated on. And what really got me is the distance apart they were. They weren't here, they were here. And that's all I could look at. And that's all I could focus on for the 2 minutes that we were here face to face. He didn't try to no mind speak or anything else, and that's later, which blew my mind. No, I just stared at him. Then he just turned and walked away. He took 4 steps to come to me, 3 steps to leave, and I never heard another sound. I probably stood there for another minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I started walking backwards towards town. And then I started jogging backwards. Then I turned and ran. I'm sure I did a 3.5 minute mile because I'd never run so fast in my life. I ran back to the store of the Super Y because around all the perimeter of the Super Y was a brick wall. And I centered myself right in the middle. And there was a phone booth there. So I didn't have any change. And our family thing was if there was an emergency, just tap on the receiver part, you know, to just make clicks. And then I just went against that wall with my back to the wall and just looking back and forth. And my mom said when she picked me up, well, I got in the car and she's like, what's going on? I said, drive. And when we got close to the spot, I said, floor it. She said, what did you see? I said, Bigfoot. And my mom will tell you, she says, first thing she says, when she looked at me, she says, I was white. And she'll tell you, Bill's not white. My sisters are flashlights, but I'm not. My dad was Native American. Theirs wasn't. So, you know, I've definitely olive complected skin. I've never been a total white man. So, but she says I was absolutely white as a sheet. And then I explained to her what happened when I got home. And you know what? I never, ever walked that road at nighttime again. And I still haven't to this date.
did you have
When
your
I
wits
used-
about? Did you have your wits about you enough to describe the face?
It was too dark. Like I
Okay.
said, all I could focus on was the eyes because I've never seen something with glowing eyes. It was pretty much mind blowing at the time.
Okay, but you must
And,
have seen something. You must have seen something to know it was Sasquatch.
I could see the outline.
Okay.
I could see, you know, it wasn't a real conical head. It was just a slight conical. And I could just see that outline, and it had 4 feet wide at the shoulders. And I was bodybuilding at the time. I'm not a little guy. You can ask Thom. I'm not a little guy. You know, I have a large frame. I'm a big guy. I'm 6 foot tall. And at the time, my neck was like 21 and a half inches. My arms were 21 inches. My chest was 54 inches, and my waist was 32 inches. I was pretty much the same dimensions as Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just wasn't quite as. I just wasn't
Arnold.
quite. I wasn't quite as well defined as he was.
Yeah.
But you know, I was Mr. Testosterone and badass, and to come across something like this that made me feel like Billy Barty was was quite an undertaking. I was quite humbled. Let's put it that way. I was extremely humbled that something that just kind of knocked me off of that perch. But yeah, it was quite an experience, and it just I didn't have nightmares over it because I've always been very open-minded about things, but I never wanted to jump into researching or studying or go hunting for them, voluntarily asking them to come to me.
Can you estimate how long you were in the face-to-face encounter before you walked away?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes. That's like an
Yeah.
eternity, isn't it? That's like
It was an eternity at the time. I was praying for a car, anybody to come down that road. There's always somebody coming down that road, except for that time.
I mean, 12
Even-
seconds is a long time.
Uh,
You're talking
every
about
every second was a long
2
time
minutes.
that night.
20
It
seconds.
seemed like an eternity. It really did. But yeah, I shared all that with my mom, and you know, I wasn't sure if she ever believed me or not. But sighting number 3, she got to share with me, and she was the one that was under the paralysis this time for the entire night. It happened in the trailer, same place on the S Diamond Ranch, and it was nighttime. And this was only about a week and a half later. My back window, she was all the way at the other end of the place. So, you know, she's 53 feet away, the other direction. And I made the family room into my room because I was musically inclined. I used to have my band over, you know, I had piano and everything in there. We could set up in there and have a full little practice. And so I ended up getting the big room. And well, I looked out the back window because I felt something. I mean, just, you know, it's that I'm being watched thing. And I looked out back and I saw just 30, 35 feet away, just above on the bank, next to a tree right there. He was crouched down, kind of sitting on his bottom, and just watching my room. I saw those glowing eyes again, and it was dark. Although we did have a street light type on the driveway, but still, it's not the same as when you shine a light on a pair of nocturnal eyes, the way they glow. They illuminate all by themselves. That's all I can explain. They are self-illuminating. It is just the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I looked out the window, I saw that up there. I closed the curtains real quick, crawled into bed, was in the fetal position the entire night because it lasted the entire night until just before dawn. And that feeling of being watched, and it just watched our place the entire night. After that feeling finally went away, I heard my mom stirring. And she was headed into the kitchen. So I headed that way. And I didn't say anything except, well, how was your night? I hope you slept well. She said, I didn't sleep a wink. She says, all I could feel is something staring at me all night long. And she also told me here recently, because we never really discussed it until actually recently, that She said she couldn't move the entire night. It was like she was paralyzed. So she couldn't even leave her bed the entire night. So it was a very strange experience,
Yeah.
even for her, because she was in that paralysis type of state. I wasn't, but I could feel him just watching. It's like I was just kind of praying that don't kill me, please don't kill me. I didn't know nothing about the Sasquatch, nothing like I know now. Now it's as Thom knows, I've done a complete 180, and a lot of it's because of Thom and reading Arla's book and understanding and looking at other people's experiences that are people that are actually spending time with these creatures that totally lost my fear. Absolutely lost my fear towards them.
And that's step one.
That was the big one.
Mhm.
After having that face to face and being so terrified, then this happening about a week and a half later. Well, then the next encounter, number 3, or is this number 4 coming up? This is number 4 coming up. Was with my mom. She actually saw it visually this time. We were at standing in the driveway, same place, and we're looking out over the valley. It was the sun had just gone down as far as physically being able to see it, so it was extremely light out still. And we're looking across the valley, the neighbor's pasture down below. At the end of the pasture, including the end of the property we were on, there's a tree line that runs down. It runs across the road, or at least the tree line is not on the road, but you know what I'm talking about. And it follows a line around this folks' pasture, then it's just forest all the way up the mountain on the other side. And we're standing there talking and chatting, and my mom looks over and spotted the eye glow. And she's, well, look at that. There he is. And we could see him just inside the tree line. And he went, we watched him, and he kept looking back towards us, making, looking right at us. And I got the feeling that at that time, which I thought was really weird until now, that he was saying goodbye. Probably because I wasn't ready, for contact is what I'm thinking in retrospect. That I wasn't ready. They were trying to contact me in a way or be friends of some sort. I didn't know, and we watched him go across that field of trees to the edge of the pasture, then on up the mountain. Meanwhile, every couple steps, he would take a look back, just turn and look back at us, and we'd see the eye shines, and watched him go right up and over the mountain. And at the time, like I said, I was bodybuilding. I used to run up and down those hills. And that's how I got in shape to begin with, to start bodybuilding, because I was determined, I was a heavy kid. So I was determined to get rid of the weight and bulk up and muscle up and get myself in good shape. So I got to where I actually, I started out walking up and down hills on the backside of my uncle's place. And I used to have to stop probably about 10 or 12 times before I'd hit the top. I used to take my dog with me. My dog would just run around and do his thing. And after a while, I got to where I could jog up and stop like 3 or 4 times on the way up. And then I got to where I could run from top to bottom without stopping and outrun my dog going up and down the hills. So I was in good shape. And the time it took from when we first spotted him, which we spotted him just as he came within view of where we were standing. So we had a really good area to watching all this take place of him walking through. And it only took him probably, I'd say 2.5, 3 minutes at the most to go from the bottom of the valley over and crest the top of the hill and go over the top of the ridge. And if it had been me in the shape I was in, of course, I wouldn't be able to run through all the woods the way they can go through effortlessly. But in the shape I was in, it probably would have taken me at least a half an hour to go from the bottom all the way up to the top and over the top of the ridgeline.
Wow. And that's when you were out running your dog.
And that's when I was out running my dog.
So 2 or 3 minutes for him and a half an hour for you.
Yes, that's how fast he moved.
Mhm.
It was, and so effortlessly,
Yeah,
almost like a float, like they're floating. I mean, it's just
yeah,
Mhm.
so smooth and so steady. It was just like, that's not real.
Mhm.
You just tell
yeah.
yourself that's not possible. How can that
That's
happen?
that's exactly why, one of the reasons why I figured out, well, I'm sure that you know at this point that Sasquatch can cloak into any form that they want, animals or anything. That's when I figured out for sure that they can cloak into human beings, because I saw, uh well, there was more to the story than that, but I saw a human knocking on a tree with a wood, or a imposter human, and then running across this bumpy, mossy slope that was uneven with deadfall all over it, and he looked like a Carl Lewis. And
Yeah,
I mean, Carl Lewis couldn't have done that on a
I,
flat
I,
track. That way I saw
I'm
this
gonna
guy
say,
moving.
yeah, and going through all the deadfalls and everything,
Yeah, exactly.
like it's not even there. And that's what
Right.
gets me. And that's where most of their stuff is found, as far as the structures and stuff I'm finding, is all in areas where there's just lots of clutter, lots of deadfall and different things. It's like, if you wanted to chase one, it's not going to happen because you're going to take about 10 steps and you're going to be seriously injured on things that you're going to get gored by something, or something's going to break your leg, your foot's going to get caught between a couple branches and you're going down. It's
Yeah.
just absolutely amazing.
Oh
Arla,
yeah.
a question, Arla. What do you think the high incidence of eye shine would be attributed to there? I kind of have an idea myself, but what do you think on that, Arla?
What do you mean by
Well, he's
what?
seen a lot of eye shine in his early encounters.
Well, usually that's one of the first things people begin to see when
Mhm.
they get past the tree knock and the yell and the footprint and everything else.
Yeah.
Now, they do scan you through
Yeah.
that. There are different levels of color that they would use to
Hmm.
read you, I guess you could say. Um, but it's one it's like it's this the final icebreaker to say, wait a minute, something's going on here that's different.
Hmm.
And I've seen that too many times through the years with people who saw that. They were at their place in their heart where they were open. They
Okay.
used it. They knew that. They knew
Hmm.
that the chance to reach you at that point, and the reason for the scanning at that point, which you can take that as reading your mind, but they look at you energetically too.
Hmm.
And so they know where you're at
Hmm.
as to accepting what's going to happen. And at that point, if a person is ready, it'll go further.
That was kind of
Yeah.
my take on it.
Yeah.
Was it's a contact. Do you want to go further type
Yes. Yeah.
thing at that point? That's why
Yeah.
he was seeing it so much.
They can actually read your future. There's this thing
Oh
called
yeah.
the life review where they can go from
Yeah.
your birth to death, and they can see, and it takes a while because you have to go through all the major events of somebody's life. If they
Hmm.
can look at you and they see a Sasquatch in the future, it's a whole different thing than if they look at you and they don't see any Sasquatch in the future. You know what I'm saying? So it has to do about them willing to invest in a
Hmm.
relationship with you. And
Right.
I think they do
Yeah,
this with a lot of people.
Hmm.
And
absolutely.
But they're not going, if you are going to walk down this road with them and they do this and you are not ready to do that, that's all you're going to get. And it's the same as if you're not ready for anything but a whoop and a knock and a footprint, that's what you're going to
That's
get.
right. I tell people if you be happy with a whoop in the night or a stick knock in the night, go ahead and do that. You'll get
Yeah.
one back,
Yeah.
but that's all
Yeah.
you get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they get further and further away when they do them.
Yeah,
They're going
that's
the
that
way.
too.
They just go out. You know, hey, I watched Finding Bigfoot for 10 years. Did they find anything? No. You know, I love those guys. Bobo's a great guy. Cliff is a great guy. And I agree with Thom. They don't have the understanding.
No, they
Bobo's
don't.
the closest one to all of them that does have
Yeah.
partly the understanding of
They're-
what's really happening.
They're
But he's-
He went
interested
through
in,
some kind of transformation. Remember, he was a big chunky guy, and then now he's kind of like a slim, new agey kind of guy.
That was cancer's caused that.
Oh, well, that'll change. That'll
that'll,
change.
that,
that.
that'll
Yeah.
slim you down pretty fast, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, on that point, they're interested in a relationship and a connection and you know, teaching you and whatever. So
Yeah.
and
That's
so
what
they
I
know
was-
they know the people that are open to that. And if you're not open to it, that like Thom and Arla said, and like, you know, pretty obvious to me too, is that you're only going to get, you know, the rudimentary kind of stuff or nothing at all, you know.
One
Well, I
of my favorite eye shine stories happened back in Georgia. When was that conference that Midnight Walker did back there? 2011, Arla?
It was January of 2013. That's the year I moved to Oregon to be with
Okay,
Stu.
okay. At any rate, we were back there for that conference and stayed in a cabin on this little private ranch up there. And there were what, 4 or 5 or 6 of us in that cabin. And it was the way it was built. You walked in off the ground on the upper level, and the lower level was 15 feet off the ground. You know, it's just open basement type setup, and big picture windows there, and you could see out across the field. Even at night, the light from the cabin shone out across the lawns there, and we could see. The last night we were there, who was in that cabin with us? There was a guy there, Alex Evans was there, Sally Ramey was there, what's her name? Ron Moorhead's daughter was there.
Rhonda.
Rhonda, yeah,
Yeah.
she was
And
there.
Gail,
Yeah,
wasn't Gail there?
Gail was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were having a great time, absolutely great time. And the last night, we were sitting there at the table in that cabin, watching them running back and forth on the lawn. It was after dark, but there was enough light from the cabin. And Alex, we were packing up, getting ready to go, and Alex had to go to her car. She was afraid to go out the car. I said, I'll walk out with you, and walked out, got there, and there's 3 sets of eye shine right across the road from the car, about 15 feet away. I said, oh, look, Alex, you can see all 3 of them. She says, no. No, I don't want to look.
So did
I
you
want-
say? So I wanted to ask you, Thom, because I know that Alex to this day is not sure that they even exist. So did she just not look at all, or did she
She
didn't
would
see
not
anything,
look.
or she just refused
not
to
look.
accept it? She
She
did not
wouldn't
look.
look. She was afraid.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. How could you not look?
Didn't have the same
I'd sure be
curiosity.
looking. I'll be looking, Ma.
Yeah, no doubt.
Didn't have the same curiosity level that we had.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, must have had some curiosity level, or she wouldn't be out there. She seemed to have expressed an
Yeah,
interest.
but it got to a point. That was as far as she'd go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that's some people, yeah.
Then eventually
it's,
turned around, went the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not a judgment. It's just some.
Can
how
I
it
tell
is,
one more Arla and Alex story? You
Sure.
were there for this one.
Oh, I was?
Our 2012 conference. First time that Arla put me on a stool and sang to me.
She actually put you on a stool? Were you bodybuilding too, Ma?
No, and she did it first with Bob, and sang to
Oh, yes.
Bob
That's the video I saw.
Rodeo. She sang Rodeo. for Bob. And then she put me on the stool and she started singing Patsy Cline.
If you've got leaving
If
on
you
your
got
mind.
leaving on your mind, yeah, leave me
Hey,
now, get it over.
Whoa.
And,
Let's hear hold on a second. Let's hear Arla sing a little bit about that.
Arla
Sing us a little
sounded
bit
more
about
like
that.
Patsy than Patsy did.
Sing us a little bit about that,
I
Ma.
don't know if I can now. If you've got leaving on your mind, tell me now, get it over.
Now,
Okay.
okay, picture this.
Because that saved us from Thom singing that. I don't know what that was, but then
Picture this. I'm sitting on a stool. She's standing there in this long black evening gown singing this song. Alex, long red hair, this black evening gown that's cut way to here, and she's walking around in front of me. So I can see her as Arla is singing. Then she disappears. And Arla gets to the point in that song where it says, if there's a new love in your life, Alex slid her hands over my shoulders from behind. I absolutely freaking melted. There was nothing left but a little pile of water in that stool to sing to. You have never seen anything in your life like that.
Well, that
No.
must have been the first time I got you.
That was the first time.
I got
Yeah.
you. But I've
Yeah,
only got
oh,
you
yeah,
a couple of times. So
a few hundred times.
you done
yeah.
got get. Is that a word? Is that a
And
done
Ma,
got get?
Ma gets me got better than most got people get. Got. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
was a
I'm
fun
just sorry,
conference,
Bill.
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
Oh, it's
had to tell
fine.
that story.
We had
But I
the
love the story.
we had
You
the
know that.
karaoke. We had the karaoke at that thing too. And Arla and I practically sang every song.
Yeah,
Didn't we?
you sang one of Ray Price's songs.
Yeah, it was Ma. It was Ma. Ma was singing a lot too. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, for the good times. For the good times.
Yeah, well,
it was that was the one that has the foot video that's out there somewhere that Greg Walker took of the foot. So because people talk about my feet or have for years, but because
Well-
I would go barefoot at a conference
Yeah.
and so
And when Arla stands around,
Yeah.
she stands around.
No. That joke does not apply to Arla. That's for you and other assorted felons. When he stands around, he stands around. But Ma's always been kind of svelte, haven't you, Ma?
been what?
Svelte.
I didn't recognize that word either.
Well, let's just say I've been svelter.
No, svelte. SVELTE. That's a word.
Svelter. I've been svelter, and that's the southern version of that word.
Are you writing that down, Bill? SVELTE. SVELTE. Svelte.
That'll go in my next book.
Yeah.
I know. I've been here.
Pork and Beans Comedy Club.
I know you've written a book because you said
I
a
know, I
couple
do
words.
watch the show.
I know you wrote a book because I heard a couple words I didn't understand. And I put a couple that I didn't understand in my book just to make it look like I knew what I was talking about.
You put a
that
couple
like
that nobody understood in your book.
Svelte food store.
Did you get the
Okay.
definition for svelte, or you did?
Svelte.
Svelte, being slim.
It sounds Yiddish.
No, it means slim and trim. I think.
Yeah,
I
it
believe.
does.
Well, then you're not talking about me.
Yeah. He's
No,
not
you're-
talking about me either all the time.
No, those days are gone.
Although throwing straight at 59 years old, I
Yeah.
am getting well toned again.
Yep.
There we go.
I got beat. My guns are prettier.
See,
Mine-
I
we
don't
are.
know.
I see
Mine
we
point
are
the other way.
digressing
Hey,
again.
Gun show, gun show.
hey, Pork, you forgot your left guard.
This was a show about Sasquatch.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me get back to about them reading you, because that actually makes entire sense to me now.
Mhm.
Because when I watched him walk over that mountain, I kept getting that feeling where he was telling me goodbye, but I didn't really feel it as being a permanent kind of thing. And you said they could see forwards and backwards. So they expected me to be at the point I'm at right now.
Yep.
And
That's a good
what
conclusion.
brought me there was watching your show and something Thomas said. And this was before my last sighting. It was after I saw you, Thomas, when I came up to visit you last time. It was probably maybe about 6 or 8 weeks later. And you had made one particular statement that really kind of stood out to me. You said, once they connect with you, it lasts a very long time, if not forever. And so that set me out on my next mission to sighting number 5, one I asked for. This time I was ready. And Thom, I remember him saying from time to time that when you're in their presence, don't stare at them, first of all, because you're looking at something that's just amazing and beautiful, as far as I'm concerned. But it's just kind of act like they're not there, and do your own thing. What do you call it? Armchair squatching. So I thought, okay, I like Thom. I got nothing but good vibes from Thom. We had a great time when I went up and spent the day with him up there. I absolutely enjoyed myself. What an amazing guy to talk to, and I could feel.
I think so. That's why I talk to myself a lot.
Hey, let me go slip into my hip waders and grab a shovel. I only talk to myself because I need an expert opinion.
That's right.
It's getting deeper.
Mhm.
But Thom made that statement of about the connection. And so I thought, I'm going to try an experiment. At the time, I worked in caregiving. I worked in a TBI unit, traumatic brain injured, where somebody's trying to kill me every day, pretty much all day long.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was fun. Talk about high stress. But I spent an entire week before I decided I was going to go up and thinking every moment of the day, the one I came face to face with, and he was outside my back window. I watched him walk over the mountain. I just kept running those scenes over and over in my mind, plus the place I wanted to meet them. Which really isn't that far as the crow flies from where my sightings were originally. Maybe 50 miles as the crow flies.
Yeah, it's not that far across there.
Yeah, it's not that bad. And I figured, well, that's nothing for Sasquatch. Was that 10 minutes? As fast as they move. And I had no idea of the speed of these incredible creatures at all. I just call them the forest people because I think they are people.
Mhm.
I think they're part of us. We're part of them. I don't know what it is, but I know they're not human, but they're very human-like. I know they don't think like us. They do, but they don't.
Fortunately.
It's such a conundrum, when you just start getting in. It's like thinking about infinity.
Mhm.
It goes round and round and round, but it's got to stop somewhere. But what's after that?
Mhm.
There's always something. It goes forever, and it just gets your brain wrapped into that never-ending loop. So I thought every moment of the day, all my waking moments of, I want to meet you. I'm ready. It's time. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm over that. And I realized in retrospect that that's what he was trying to do, is to meet me and maybe communicate with me, or I had no idea. I didn't have any clue what I was in store for. So actually what happened, it was March 27th, the morning of March 27th. Kip Morrell was over in where was he? He's over here at the Oregon coast. And I was gonna go visit him. Not go squatching, but go visit Kip and go meet him. And Kip's like, well, I've already got plans for the day, and I've got company coming and some friends and stuff. And he says, well, I'll catch up with you, next time I'm in Medford. So we have this kind of playing joke going back and forth of the elusive Kip Morrell. I've seen Bigfoot more than I've ever seen Kip. 6-1, 6-0. So Kip and I do this banter back and forth. Well, at least I do the banter to him. He loves it. Which I'm going to set up a trap at Beachfoot with a bottle of Tito's and my lariat to capture the great Kip Morrell. But since I couldn't do that, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to go grab some lunch. I'm going to grab a book, which, of course, the book I took was Face to Face. Thank you, Thom. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit the area where, I've had in mind. And this is one of the first time I had never even heard of mind speak yet. I was still new getting into just kind of understanding what's going on out there in the Bigfoot world and gathering up all the researchers I could. I have over 100 top researchers with my Facebook that, I jump back and forth with. Keith Bearden and I talk all the time, sometimes daily, and he does nothing but talk highly of Thom. Which, some days I'm not sure, but.
That reminded me, I gotta get the next check in the mail to him.
Yeah, you're number one promoter. But
I think he's watching now.
I've gotten contact with a lot of people that are actually in the book. So we're all friends now. Kathy Blount and I had been friends for a while. We've been chatting back and forth. And matter of fact, we were going to have dinner one night, but her son injured himself because I was over at the coast visiting my mom. So that didn't happen. So I was trying to get over there before now, but looks like it'll be a Beachfoot thing.
I got to see her yesterday.
Yeah, I know. She said she was going to the camp out. So I was like, I'm jealous. That's just not fair. I got to work. So we still have to work, unfortunately.
She is a character. She's a character.
Well, she's
we
great.
drove her up and back and hung out with her a lot at the camp out, and she's something else, boy. She was telling me. She was telling me about. I'm not going to mention names, but some of the experts in the field.
So,
One guy's like an older guy, and he walks around like a big game hunter. I don't want to name names, but anyway, he came up to her and said, if you saw Sasquatch more than once, I guess he said Bigfoot more than once, you're a liar. And boy, he was screaming at her, and she got right in his face. And I was saying, oh, geez, I wish I had been there, Kathy. I would have loved to have seen that.
I was there. It was something to see. You and I had problems with the same guy, Brian.
Yeah.
At Beachfoot. We were doing a presentation on glyphs, and he just that's a bunch of BS.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you're dealing with experts that don't know anything.
Yeah, the guy has made his whole career off of having seen 5 tracks.
I mean, and I don't want to say that disrespectfully, but they don't have the only way you know about Sasquatch is if you have a relationship with them, and that's the only way you're going to really get to know them on a intimate level. And these guys, they don't have an intimate relationship with them because their heart's not in the right place. They're not
exactly
going about it in the right way, and so
they're not being chosen.
So what?
I said they're not being chosen.
Exactly. No. So it's
we were chosen.
It's frustrating when you hear these guys like getting in people's faces, and they're so so convicted in their stance, and yet just like, man, you just don't know anything. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully. It's just like they don't know anything.
No.
They might
I
know
agree.
the length of a stride. They might know, they might just, whatever, but they don't know anything that really is important. And
But
as
that's
far
what
as,
they have chosen. And that's
Yeah,
why
they do.
they have their place in this, because they were the ones in the beginning that really started bringing this out to the public.
Yes.
And so they do have their place in this. Now,
Mhm.
I have seen some of what people call the icons who have made a shift
Yeah.
yeah,
and walked,
There are a few.
so
yeah,
it
exactly.
it's what you choose to know. What those people have is knowledge. And a lot of them have a lot of knowledge. No, it's not their knowledge per se. It's knowledge they've gained through other people's encounters and things. But that's valid too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you make that next step, then where you get into this is the wisdom part of it. When
Yeah.
you make that connection, this is more than knowledge. This is a wisdom that you begin to understand. So, my belief is whoever has been in this had their place,
oh, absolutely. I mean,
and they chose,
I mean,
Yeah.
what?
finding
All
Bigfoot guys
players.
will bring in way more people who get to another understanding than we will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they're, they absolutely have their place, and it's all, yeah. So
They
I'm not
finding
criticizing them in that way.
finding Bigfoot did one major thing of major importance. It made it all right to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
actually what
exactly.
motivated me.
Hmm.
It was the show, and matter of fact, the first time I talked about it, it was over here in Bend, Oregon. They had a Bigfoot and Bruce, and Cliff Barackman was there. Mark Marcel. Matter of fact, Mark Marcel and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him from Adam. I thought he was just one of the people just showing up to hang out and being a fan or something. And he's actually the first person outside of my family that I ever told my second encounter to, my face to face. First person. That's what opened me up. It was I talked to Mark about it. Randy Sylvie. Randy Sylvie's with the Ben Bigfoot Research Group. And also Ken Gerhardt and I became friends that day. And I talked to Ken about it. Ken's actually the only one up till today that knows about all of my sightings, including the giant rabbit. because that's the way my mind interpreted what I saw that day, until I really got to thinking about it, because I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Oh my God. You just triggered something in me. We had a lady up at one of my campouts, and you know that the Sasquatch can present themselves in any form that you're going to feel comfortable with, right? Obviously. Like, for instance, I had a sighting where one appeared right before my eyes, and my friend saw a little dog and I saw a Sasquatch. But I digress. The lady at my campout saw a big giant rabbit go by her, a big giant white rabbit. And I was talking to her about it, and I said, that's because a rabbit's not going to scare you.
Yeah,
Even a big rabbit. So they presented herself to her as a rabbit. And so when you said you saw a big giant rabbit, that just struck a chord. So what was your big giant rabbit thing?
That was my first one when I was 16.
That was one of his stories, if you remember. The story. This is a
the first thing to go, Brian.
It's a pork and bean show.
Give me a
And then
second.
we have guests who tell stories. And in the beginning of the pork and bean show, he's told a story about him seeing a rabbit.
Well, I guess I was in outer space because I don't remember that.
It was just delayed consciousness.
Arla and I
Then when the
witnessed-
rabbit got up to move, you saw the hands.
I saw the hands and saw him dive.
You
Yeah.
see, I
The other
remember.
thing-
Oh, you know what? Actually, I was in the other, I walked somewhere for a second. I heard the hands of the Superman and the dive thing. Okay, so, okay.
Arla and I
Well,
had
that's cool.
about the ultimate example of somebody seeing something and then convincing themselves that they hadn't.
Well, that's
Or-
basically what I did, is try to convince myself I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things you tuck way down deep inside and
Mhm.
forget about. Never talk about it again or
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. Well, Jackie was sitting in the passenger seat of the car. Arla was sitting in the back seat and I was driving when we came around the curve in the road and there's two of them standing in the road right in front of the car.
Is that you tell me about you were headed towards Happy Camp?
Well, we're in that area by Elk
Yeah.
Meadows. And, yeah, and, up on the Go Road.
Yeah, you told
And-
me about that one.
Yeah, and convinced herself
Yeah,
that
I
she had
remember.
not seen a Sasquatch, but had seen two Mexican drug mules in long-haired ghillie suits wearing flip-flops with the backpacks on, and did that within 20 miles from the time we saw them till we got back to camp. 20 miles.
That's how she rationalized it, huh?
Yeah, yeah. She finally came around and realized what her mind was doing to her. But there again, her mind could accept those things. They knew what those things were,
Mhm.
you know. They-
Yeah, that was the whole thing. I didn't know what I was looking at.
yeah, her brain didn't know what Sasquatch was. Didn't understand Osman pads on feet, that sort of thing, but it understood Mexican drug mules and, you know, ghillie suits and all of
Did she
that.
ever reconcile what she saw since?
Yes, totally.
That's
Well, that's
kind of
cool.
sad that she recognized those things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cartel members. Where did she go up?
And she'd come all the way from England. That's what got her,
I've been in pretty bad neighborhoods before, but
yeah, that's what got her started thinking logically. Was Arla said to her, she's, Jackie, you've traveled 6,000 miles to see what you've seen, and now your mind's not letting you see it. And Jackie works in a healthcare, mental health care field to start with.
so she understands.
She realized what her mind was doing to her. And by the time we got back to Sue's in Eugene at the time, she was pretty good shape. And by the time I dropped her at the airport in Portland, she had understood what was going on by then. But yeah, that was such a shift to watch happen. It was unreal to watch that to come down like that.
Yeah, I didn't have
Yeah.
anybody to talk me through mine, so it was a giant rabbit.
And you know
Uh-huh.
that I love that because they did that with a purpose. That wasn't just your mind rationalizing, they were helping you.
Mhm.
And so, you know, you go, well, my first encounter was a big giant rabbit. And yes, your mind does go to what you have a reference for. But I believe they helped in that
Mm.
Yep.
because, yeah, from what you've said, they were trying to bring you along in this.
Yeah,
And
and that's what I
so
understand.
they were very gentle with that first time.
But
And
they weren't
I
just
see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe see you misinterpreting a Sasquatch for a giant rabbit, but you know, my point is that when the little Toto dog and a big giant Sasquatch, you cannot, that's just them presenting it themselves to somebody in a gentler way that, or maybe they didn't want him to see them, which is probably true too. But it could be actually both could be at play. For
Mm.
sure.
Well, they were pretty bold on the second one, going face to face, and me feeling
Yeah.
like Billy Barty. Yeah, looking at
Yeah.
King
So-
Kong.
So you said all the other ones, the subsequent ones from the second one were all the same individual. Is there a reason for that? Is this guy connected to you, or Do you have a
yeah,
relationship with him now?
yes, I have a relationship with him now. I call him Silver because he was jet black at the time, and each of the subsequent times. But this has been geez, what, 43 years. So he's aged a bit. What's strange about his hair is 3/4 of it is silver. The last quarter of it is still black. So his hairs are both colors rather than a transition like, we have. We just all of a sudden wake up, that one's silver. Oh man, yank. Hey, I can't do that. I don't have enough.
Well, you must have had a lot of silver hairs. Cause you've been doing a lot of
Yeah,
yanking or something.
yeah, it is what it is. It took me a while to stop, nervous tick,
So what's your relationship with this individual? Is he like a guide, a teacher, or what is he to you?
Well, that'll get me up to number 5. As I was saying,
Okay.
I spent that entire week thinking nothing but and focusing on him, that I want to see him, that I am ready, and because I understand that's all he wanted to do is get to know me. In retrospect, and the more I read, and especially the more I read Thom's books, Arla's, and others that, like Keith Bearden's, is showing that they're not something you need to fear. There are some, they're no different than us. There's assholes in the mix. Pardon my language, but there are some bad ones. But pretty much the ones here in the Pacific Northwest are, from what I understand, I've really never heard much as far as aggression goes, unless it's somebody they wanted out of their area. But other than that, they've
You
never
can
caused harm.
you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Yeah, I'd imagine.
or if you're threatening a child and mom's around. I don't care what species you're dealing with.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're in deep kimchi, and humans
Yeah, that's gonna be,
included.
and that's going to be part of this next one here. Is so I did the armchair squatching,
Mhm.
as Thom described. But on my way up there, as I turned off to the main highway on the way up to where I was going, I got a message in my mind. It was, we're not going to meet you where you wanted to meet. And I just kind of floored me. And I'm driving, and I'm like, looking around, and it's like, I am by myself. What was that all about? And I just kind of, okay, just relax, go with it, whatever that was. You'll probably understand it later, or you won't. So that was my first thing at Mindspeak. And I had no idea what Mindspeak was or had ever even heard of it. To me, it's telepathy. Because I've actually been able to do that from time to time. And I still do now. Even now, I'll think about what I want for dinner. I come home, guess what? My roommate's made it for dinner. Happens so often that, because we're connected. We were a couple for 10 and a half years, but we've been split up for the past year and a half. We own a house together, so she doesn't want to sell, and so we put up with each other. But we get along better now than we were before, so it's a good thing. But yeah, she says all you do is talk about Sasquatch. I said, I'm not obsessed. She said, all you do is talk about Sasquatch. I said, really? I said, I'm trying not to go off the deep end here. She's, you already hit the bottom. But yeah, I heard that in my mind. And I thought, well, okay, that was interesting. And I'm trying to stay open-minded through all this. And just take it as it comes. Because Thom said, just open up, relax, and just let things happen. And you'll figure it out. So I get up there, I do my turn off, and there's a guy parked on the road, probably 100 yards in from the turn on the dirt road of where my research area is. So I stop and talk to him, ask him if he's lost. He's like, no, I'm up here kind of looking for areas to go ride my quads. He says, I just moved up here from California. He says, I stopped in the museum down at this place and they had a little blacksmith display. He says, well, anybody ever do blacksmithing here? No, everything's there, but nobody, nobody comes. He says, well, I do spoons and different things and stuff. He says, so he volunteered to work at the little museum that's in the little town there. So go in and do that. So we got to chatting. We probably talked half hour, 45 minutes right there on the road. And before I escaped, and he followed me on up. I told him there's plenty of places to ride up here and everything. And I said, you can follow me up if you want. So I'm up probably 2 or 3 minutes ahead of him. And I get up, about 2.5 miles, and I hit a bank of snow about 3 feet deep. And that right there went, oh, they're not going to meet me where I wanted to meet them because I cannot get there. Okay, so I turned around. I came back down to this one little area I call the Triangle Marsh. It's a nice little marshy area, and it's kind of a triangle shape. Excuse me. And he comes up and behind me, and we stopped. And I said, "You're not going to get any further." I said, "I just found out the end of the road is a couple hundred yards up right there." I said, "Then it's a 3 feet deep, and it does nothing but get deeper from there up." Because this goes from about 3,200 feet elevation where you turn off the main road to over 5,000 feet. So if at this elevation, that was probably about, I'd say about 4,200 feet. You got another, 800 to 1,000 feet to go. There's 3 feet here. There's 12 feet at the top. And that's what I went through this year, just vibrating, just be able to go there, because I drive up, nope, too much on the road, can't make it. Drive, oh, I got a quarter mile up before I had to turn around. Oh, I got a half a mile. Oh, I got a mile. I went through that for weeks this year because we had so much snow just waiting for it to melt down. But he and I BS for a little bit. Another guy come up the road, and we were watching him drive by. And well, he's 4-wheel drive, but he's not going to get over that 3 foot deep bank right there and be able to go on up. So it wasn't more than a minute later, he's coming back down and flying down the mountain. And we started laughing about it. So he decided he was going to pack up and he's headed back down the road. And so I was like, well, this looks like as good a place as any. So I went down in the woods there to where it opens up, and I had a good view of the entire marsh area. And it's to the west side, I probably have, I would say 30 yards before the trees start. I'm in the trees, but I'm in a spot where it just opens up and it's almost like a view of going up to see the whole setup there. And it's about 75 to 80 yards to the nearest bush across the marsh area. And usually this is all grown up 5, 6, 7 feet tall of all kinds of different marsh grasses, chuli or tule grass, chufa. There's no reeds in there at all, which I'm surprised because it's always wet. Always. This mountain, no matter how dry it is, even though we've been in a 7-year drought here, there's still water that flows out of that mountain all the time. And that's where I have most of my experiences is at a spring that's there. So I found a tree with a root that came out and it came across like a bench. I went, oh, that's a great spot. It's right there. I got a great view of everything. Well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to put my lunch over here and I'm just going to kick back and read. And so I sat down and in my mind, I thought, well, God, if you're here, can you give me a tree knock? Just that fast. It sounded like it was about a quarter mile to the southwest. Instant tree knock. I went, wow. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe they are connected to me mentally. And because it was quite a surprise to me that happened that fast. I went, okay. So I sat and relaxed and I did some reading. And about 15 minutes later, I heard a whistle. and a whistle come from the same direction, but close. You know, it was probably maybe 300 yards away, maybe less, maybe 200 yards. And I heard the whistle from the same direction the tree knot came from. Then to the west, directly across from me, I heard another one. And then directly behind me, part way up the hill, I heard another one. I was like, I'm surrounded. Okay, that's interesting. And I thought that's pretty tactical, almost like a military type of move. And I was like, they've got me surrounded, but they've left me one opening, which is going back towards my vehicle. So that area was open. You know, they're like, you know, if you're going to bail, you're all clear. See ya. It's what I was thinking. And so I was like, well, that was weird. And then I look up and I look over in between two bushes at the far end of the marsh, and I see this figure just there. It looked like a big gray bush. And he was sitting there with his knuckles to the ground ahead of him, kind of on his, okay, here comes another word, haunches. Those are where he's kind of squatted down to where his butt's almost touching the ground, his knuckles in front of him and his head down. Because one of my questions, and this is some of the weird ways they answer my questions, is how can you be in plain sight and not be seen? I stood up and I looked at him and I rubbed my eyes. I took off my glasses, rubbed my eyes, looked again, rubbed my eyes again, looked again. I went, oh, hi, you're here. And I figured out it was him, that he was right there. He's just, but he never moved a hair the entire 45 minutes he was there. Did not move once. That answered my question. Because if anybody else would have looked over there, they would have saw nothing, just kind of a gray mass there, probably figured it was a bush. You know, right in plain sight. You know, this is hiding in plain sight. That was like, okay, you answered a really big question of mine right there. So I understood that. So I sat down, started reading the book. And then within a few minutes off to the west, I heard three of the fastest knocks I've ever heard. I couldn't replicate them as fast as they were. That was the juvenile JJ. Next, I look up, JJ standing next to him. And he's doing the little bit of a weave, but not too bad, but he's standing right next to Silver. And Silver, even down on his haunches, was still taller than JJ. JJ's right around 5 feet tall. Just after all this happened, I went up the road and I took a photo. I didn't have any casting stuff. I wasn't expecting for this to actually happen. And I found three of his footprints of JJ's as he come through the snow on a little bankside. I measured them at the time. They were 3.5 inches wide, 9.5 inches long, and he had a 32 to 34 inch stride. And so what he was doing was introducing me to his juvenile.
A question, Bill.
Yes, sir.
You say stride. Is that single step or double step? Left foot or left foot to right foot to left foot?
Left foot to right foot.
Okay, so step, not stride.
Yeah,
Okay.
step.
Okay.
So yeah, one was about 32, the other one was about 34. Because the impressions were still kind of there the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Not much. Most of it melted out, even though it was pretty deep right there in that spot. But it was the day when I had my sighting. Of course, broad daylight. Most of my sightings in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I had at night was those two. The one
Right.
where he stared at the trailer all night and the face-to-face.
Yeah.
Everything else, the other four have been broad daylight.
What did you say that step length was?
32 to 34.
Okay. And how long was the foot?
The foot was 9.5 inches by
Okay.
3.5.
Okay, so he was a little less than 5 feet. And
Yeah, right around 5
yeah.
feet is what I was guessing. You know,
Mhm.
even from the distance, I could tell he's right around 5 feet.
Yeah.
Now I know Silver from my first encounter was right around 9. Actually, I did your calculations
Mhm.
and it came out to 9.47
Mhm.
right there for his height, and 1,200 and something pounds, like just a
Yeah.
little over 1,200 pounds.
So he's what,
Which
18,
made
18,
sense. Pardon?
8-inch footprint, 18-inch footprint, did you say?
17.5 by 8.
Yeah, you know, you made a good point there, Bill. I think that's kind of a fallacy, or, well, maybe they're more active at night, but I've had most of my sightings and encounters during the day too. And
Absolutely.
you know, why go out and try to see something in the dark when you can see it in broad daylight, right?
Exactly. You know, remember the old song? Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab some afternoon delight. Song about sex, but still get together in the daytime. You
Oh,
know?
is that what that meant?
You want-
Is that what that meant? I thought they were going for lunch.
Well, I'm not gonna say anything.
Good plan.
Yeah, it probably is. I'm sure there's this is a family show, right?
Not really.
But anyways, after the 3 knocks and JJ showed up, and I got a hold of Thom right after. I said, Thom, I expected, especially around 5 feet tall, that he was going to be a little bulkier. I told Thom it looked like a stick figure with long hair. He looked like one of these woke teenagers that have never lifted anything in their life, you know, except a video game control panel. You know, they got arms about this big around, and that's what he looked like. I mean, just the skinniest looking thing I ever saw.
Mhm.
Tom's like, oh yeah, that's typical juvenile. Okay. I said,
Mhm.
he looked like a woke teenager. I said,
Mhm.
I was expecting something to be a little bulkier, you know, that they're gonna kind of slowly grow up and, you know, be tough guys. So, and it's like the a lot of the tree stuff that's done around there. A lot of the things I think is that he's in training.
Mhm.
Dad's teaching him how to do all this stuff. See, at the top of the mountain, there's like, let's see.
Are you talking about tree structures and stuff, or
Yes.
structures?
Yes, most of them are made by the juvenile. From
Yeah.
what I could figure, because the way they're made, you know, the adults tend to make them really clean, like when they do the asterisks.
Yeah.
The asterisks are really super clean, like this one here. This is the main, the big asterisk. This is on the mountain. This is right within, I would say, 80 yards of my last sighting.
Oh, very
Mhm.
cool.
And this is big. These trees are probably 14, 15 inches across.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this is the big asterisk, and above that asterisk is an X.
You know, I should have got you to send them. I mean, we can see them fine, but I could have.
Well, I
If
got
I
them
hadn't
all
been gone,
printed.
if I hadn't been gone all
And
week, I
then-
would have got you to
And
send them
then
to
the
me.
X that's above the asterisk, it's probably, I would say 40 yards above the asterisk.
Yeah.
So, you know, those I think were made by Silver, by the adult.
I like your thought on the that the little guys or the juveniles make a lot of them. I remember coming across a beautiful structure, and it really touched my heart because I could visualize exactly what was going on. And I think it was I think it was the newborn up here, Thom, because right in
Mhm.
front, a few feet in front of
I
this
have pieces
really
there.
nice structure was a tiny little 6-inch one that was a replica of it.
Yes,
And
I have
and I just
too.
I just knew that, you know, maybe it was little Bud or something was building the big one, and his
Mhm.
little brother or whatever was watching him and imitating him, and it just really touched my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think this is one that was made by the juvenile. These were just
Okay.
mostly materials that were laying around. And plus there's a live madrone tree you see in the middle there, which back east they call them laurelwood, but here we call them madrone. It's a hardwood. So, but at the top,
The scientific name is Pacific Madrone. It's a men's
Yeah.
ECI.
That's another thing that kind of irritates me about
I'll
what
do
some
this
people
one.
say is that, you know, they say, well, look at that, the ends are cut or there's string in there or whatever. And, but they don't,
they
don't
use
realize,
material.
they'll use whatever is available,
Exactly.
I
And
mean,
that's the way
and
I
I mean,
feel about it.
yeah. And I mean, they've answered me, in many ways with that too. Like, like just by thinking, I wonder if it's like this, and then the answer is right there. And I got that kind of answer about the string and stuff and whatever. So they use whatever is available.
Yeah, and here's another one that's a little more advanced that the juvenile, I think, had made.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I see all kinds of stuff like that up here.
If you see
You're in
this one's
Washington. You're in Washington, right?
No, I'm in Oregon.
Oh,
Southern
Oregon,
Oregon.
right? Yeah, Oregon,
only-
right? But same area, yeah. Same,
Yeah, I'm only 30 miles from the California border.
right?
But yeah,
Same kind of stuff, though.
Yeah, like I've got them everywhere. Tree
Mhm.
breaks central. And the thing I learned about tree breaks, what we're looking for is, can you see the twist
Yeah,
in the
Yeah.
fibers, how they're twisted? Is the
Yeah.
twist and snap. This is one of my tree breaks. Then you
Twist
come
and
up with
shout.
ones like this.
Yeah.
I love that.
This was a powerful, fast snap to do. It just exploded this branch. Actually, this tree, it was a tree.
yeah.
And
Even a green tree like this round or whatever. You try twisting it with your hands. See if you can.
Oh, good
do it.
luck. I've tried. I've
Exactly.
tried doing some of these. It's like, that ain't gonna happen. And I'm a powerful guy. I used to pack around engine blocks when I was young and growing up. It's like, yeah, there's just no way. I mean, that's just been snapped and twisted.
Yeah.
These are all from my area, and that's nothing.
I like that you're collecting tree breaks.
I don't do too many of them because I don't want to upset them.
Yeah, but even so, it's just like you're one of the few people I've ever saw who actually did that.
Well, Bobo does it as well. And let me tell you a story. I met Bobo last August over in Bandon. He was with another researcher I was over there visiting, and they're all working on. He's actually doing a documentary on Thompson Flat. There was a lot of miners back at the turn of the century that were killed back there, and they're pretty sure that they were killed by a Sasquatch. And well, if you go and blowing up my house, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to protect myself and my home and my family. So
why did they come to that conclusion?
I don't know. And Mark got kind of upset at me here a few months back, and he's starting to talk to me again now because I said, Mark, unless somebody saw it happen, it's speculation.
Yeah.
I said you can interject anything you want in there, but you still, no matter what. And that's the thing about being a researcher is you still have to remain objective. Unless you saw it happen. And any videos that I make and stuff, and I make them for myself, just as a thing, because eventually I'll probably put something together, is I always ask, well, what do you think? I didn't see it happen. I can't prove it, but what do you think did that?
I'm not going to say that they've never been violent or whatever. I think that would be wrong. But I think that people who don't have an understanding of them as people and as and what they actually are will, but know about them will go to that fear-based conclusion. Probably without a whole lot of evidence.
Let me say something to Thom. Thom,
Mm-hmm.
how hardwood is a chinkapin?
Pardon me?
How hard is, as far as hardwoods go, where does chinkapin sit in the hard class?
Oh, chinkapin, yeah, it's medium, just above medium hard. It's not as hard as pine maple or something like that, or yew, but it's hard.
I have broke more split malls on chinkapin than I have
Have
on any other wood in my life.
Well, pine maple, you can't even get it in there.
This is a chinkapin. As you can see how twisted it is.
Yeah.
And this thing is, this isn't small. This is probably 10 inches across.
Mm-hmm.
What can take a chinkapin and just gut it, open it up to where the fibers just inside are twisted and exploded. You know, what do I got? Hurricanes running on top of the mountain? I mean, that would be my only explanation, is a hurricane or a tornado.
Actually, you do get tornadic winds on
Yeah, we
those
do.
mountains. Yeah.
But when I go up to the top of the mountain and I find 15 trees broken at 9 feet up in a
Mhm.
straight line, that makes me think about things, and you know that it was done purposely.
Mhm.
And then at the end of those 15 trees, it was like a demonstration of power, is what it looked like to me. And at the end of those, the last 2 trees still connected, and those are it right there.
Mhm. Mhm.
These are the ones it's got the blue dots on it that the Forest Service took out. And
Mhm.
they took this out just in the past month. Otherwise, that's been up there for ever since I started, just
Mhm.
once I invited them to the area. See, the whole thing is, when I invited them to meet me, I wasn't expecting them to move in. They've stayed, and they stay year round. Ever since
As long as,
I,
as
That's
long as
that
there's
marshy
food there.
triangle place? Is that what you're saying? The marshy triangle place?
this is in the same area. This is on top of the mountain.
Oh, so that is like that's a halfway down or something, and your other location is at the top.
My main location is actually about 4,000 feet, kind of in the midsection of it. There's a cutaway road, because it's an entire valley, and it's actually kind of shaped like an arrowhead. And at the top, all the roads converge. But this the main road I go up is a county road. I get up so far, about almost 2 miles, right where the marsh is, the Triangle Marsh, and there's a road that cuts across the valley and goes across, and that's where a lot the activity is that I get. An area it's a spring, and it's a year-round spring. It's a big spring. It's it's got 2 ponds in it that's fed by the spring, and it just feeds it year-round. And I find impressions right there. They've actually they use it for an emergency during fires. They'll go up there and get water from that spring and use it on the fires. But it's not labeled as a water, because normally they'll put a sign up that says W, and
Mhm.
it'll say the road number.
What's
This is
that?
just
What's that mountain pass that runs from uh, Grants Pass area, between Grants Pass and Medford, over the mountain and in down into Happy Camp? At any rate,
going over Onion Mountain.
no, not over Onion Mountain, on the north end. It's in, about from where my family's homesteads are, where the park is, about down in that area. God, I can't remember the name of that mountain. Don't get old, it's not worth it. Anyway, up on that mountain, I've got some absolutely gorgeous sets of trackways in the snow there.
But from up there at Applegate,
Hmm?
right there around Applegate.
Yeah, you take off above Applegate and then go up over the mountain, and it has a name for the mountain, and then it drops down into Happy Camp on the California side.
Yeah, I couldn't go that way in March when I went
No,
down
you
there.
can't get through there in March.
No, there's a sinkhole
Mm,
that's out there, so they shut the highway down. They're really I couldn't go to Bluff Creek because of that.
mm,
Everything's shut down just outside of Willow Creek.
oh,
If you're headed out of Willow Creek, where it's just you got that World Globe thing and that little Bigfoot center that used to be there. And then there's the Forest Service on the other side. They had all the billboards and signs up saying they've got it shut down. And I heard there was a enormous sinkhole, that was out there in the middle of the highway. So otherwise, I was going to go back that way and come over and go through Happy Camp.
yeah.
And I was going to call you first, because you told me when I went that way, give you a call.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me exactly where I need to go.
15 road. out of the first town after Happy Camp, Wichipec, and Orleans.
Orleans,
Yeah, 15 road out of the Go Road.
Didn't we
Tended to
go? Didn't we go that way?
We did.
Yeah, I thought we went that way when
Yeah.
we went to Elk Meadows.
Yeah, that's where I was sending him, was from
Yeah.
Willow Creek down the highway to Orleans through
Yep.
Krupa and Wichipec to Orleans, and then up the 15 road, the Go Road. Go Road is a unique thing. It was supposed to be built from Gasky and on the Highway 199 side across the mountains to Orleans. So it's a Gasky Orleans Road or Go Road. And what they did, they built and paved both ends of it and left about 25, 30 miles in the middle unbuilt. Then the environmentalists sued the Forest Service, and they ended up declaring the thing a wilderness area. It's the only wilderness area with 30 miles of paved road in it. But they just called it a wilderness area just to keep people out. And so what we did is went in on the east end of the Go Road to Elk Meadows. And
7 years ago
That's
now.
No, 9 years ago.
9? It was 2014. Is
Right.
that 9
And
years?
And this is 2020.
Yeah, you're right.
20
9 years. Golly,
Yeah.
it slipped away. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
actually, 9 years ago today is when we got there.
Yes, it is.
It is 9 years
it
ago.
happens when
today.
you're around a bunch of old folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there's anybody in this field that wouldn't want to have been on that 12 days.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
So go ahead, Thom.
so we had so many sightings right in camp. That's the one where the two right on the road. Kathy and her frozen in place, and Arla and I sat there and had three of them on the hill right opposite us the whole time, sitting there talking to us the whole time we were sitting there.
Yep.
They were playing Sasquatch pinata with Nancy and Russ.
Yeah. Yeah.
They slept in hammocks, and they'd
Oh,
run,
geez.
and they'd run by and swat them on the butt in the hammock.
And they left a lot of gifts for people too, didn't they?
Oh, didn't they? Everybody there, I think, got a gift. Sue
That's
got the cutest little piece of deer hide cut, and the way it folded, it looks like a little doll. They left that for her on her bunk in her tent.
Oh, cool.
It's funny, you know, that they seem to do the same kind of things with people, you know, like individuals, and they interact with different individuals in a unique manner, according to the individual. Because like when Sue moved into Linden up here, about 3 or 4 years ago, they left a little doll right in her on her kitchen floor that wasn't there when she just walked out of the room like a minute before, kind of thing. So it's there's a lot of similarities in the things they do for people.
Another cool one was the lady that came over from Australia for that gathering.
Yeah.
And
Deb.
Deb. She went to lay a little handful bouquet of posies she'd picked on the log went across the street. And when they had picked her up in Los Angeles at the airport and then drove north, every time they stopped, she'd go into the little used stores or looking for these little toy Matchbox cars because her husband collected them. So they were talking about that, and she goes to lay that bouquet of flowers down, and here's a little toy Matchbox car sitting on the.
Yeah,
My
so
question
typical.
is, where did they keep those things? You know, do they have a locker up there with?
Seriously.
Here comes Deb, and she wants a Matchbox car. We'll go to the locker and get that. It didn't have any, it didn't have any axles or wheels left on it. It was so old.
Yeah,
but there it was.
You know, I don't know if that's always the case? Because I think they can bring these things from like, like at multiple different areas or whatever, or
Mhm.
ways. But I remember one time walking into the woods and I found a toy cache right
Mhm.
by a big structure, and there was a bunch of toys there, and it looked like and kind of stuff that you kind of
Mhm.
see that they leave around in some of the
Mhm.
areas or whatever. So
Well,
it was
I'm gonna have to beg off for about 20-25 minutes and go have my imitation lunch here, and then I will
Don't
be
worry,
back
good
again.
food's coming, Tom.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Uh,
Well, keep your seat warm.
okay. So I wanted to get back into some of Bill's stuff. So when
Well, he was just talking about his location where he said a whole clan kind of moved in there. That's
okay,
kind of what last thing I heard.
you
yeah,
want to
it's
continue on that?
back at the Triangle Marsh during my fifth sighting there, which I think Thomas for. Um, on the right hand side at the far end there, you'll see this. This is a single tree with all the branches been snapped down, and you see an opening there. And I think they use that for like a hunting style blind,
Yeah.
so they can ambush because there's just heavy deer traffic that goes right past this.
Maybe. Why would? But I mean, they can cloak. Why would they need to do that?
Yeah, but they do a lot of things cloaked and uncloaked.
I know. I'm not sure if that's what I would meaning I would come up with, but it's as good as any other, I suppose.
Well, there,
I really wish we had to put these pictures on that you had to send them to me, but unfortunately I was away for
Might not
a
even
week.
you might not even have them digital. Those are actual photographs, aren't they?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah, they're actual
might-
photographs. No, they're all on my computer.
Oh,
I've got, let's put it this way, I've got hundreds for my area. It's basically a loop. Like I said, it was shaped kind of like an arrowhead, the valley is, and goes up and loops around. So the main road goes up and over, and it's a 29 miles from the top to the interstate freeway.
Okay.
That's how remote it is. Far as from Medford, it's about 45 miles away. The closest house, there's two houses that are down at the base off the main highway. And then there's nothing more for 2 or 3 miles going to the north. Going to the
you
south.
don't have a lot of foot traffic or hunting traffic
No,
or camping
no, it's
traffic.
mostly the people that live out there taking a shortcut is what they'll do. They'll come over the mountain this way and go visit friends that are up in the like Tiller area and or headed over to Medford.
Yeah.
Because the country folk out there, they use the other roads to as shortcuts more than anything else, to get into the bigger cities.
So
Because
let me okay, go.
go
I
ahead.
was gonna ask you, unless you wanted to finish that thought, but I wanted to ask you something about the last thing that you talked about when you met the juvenile and the
Mhm.
and but did you want to finish your thought first?
No, go ahead.
So when you met the little juvenile guy that was really, really thin, and the guy that didn't move for like 45 minutes or whatever,
Yeah.
that was more or less that it seemed to be like an introduction and a start of a new phase for you.
Exactly.
So where did that go from there? What developed from that point?
I probably spend more time with the juvenile than I do the mama or the alpha male silver. Because I'll be driving up there and I can hear him running inside the tree line with me as I'm going up the road. I've gotten up there to the X, like I call the phone booth at other times. I can hear him on top of the hill whistling real excitedly that I'm there. It's like, all right, Bill's here. Time to go play. He has come to my house, and this was just recently, just a few weeks ago. And because I'm the only human he knows. So he's come here. I heard a big thud on my back porch here in my washroom. I was like, what the heck is that? Something fall over? Then I heard the drum on my wash machine spin. Like it was in a full, after it's on the high cycle and it's starting to slow down. So, it takes a minute or so for it to stop. You know how fast it spins and you have that higher noise. I couldn't spin it that. I went back there and tried to spin it half that fast. I couldn't even get halfway there. So that's what gave me the idea. Well, okay, I've got a visitor. So I understood that. And I started talking to him. I said, JJ, I know you're here. I'm the only human that he interacts with, as far as I know. And so I think he decided to experiment on me and hit me with a little infrasound. Because I got ungodly sick in an instant and started throwing up in the sink. I just had to get up and go throw up. It was intense. And I recovered from that. Everything was fine. And so I sat down, and where that started was I was writing my notes from the previous day of going up to my research area. And so I sat down after I recovered. I was feeling better, going, okay, that was weird. And I didn't think of it at the time that it was probably that I got hit with infrasound. And then I started on my notes. As soon as I brought up my file and was getting ready to start in, hit me again. I was like, okay, all right. And it was worse this time. So I'm in there throwing up again. And then come back out and I went, okay, I'm shutting it down. I'm not writing this down today. And I got the thought of going, oh, I'm the only human you can practice on because I'm the only one you know. Please don't do that again. And so I haven't had any problems since then. So, but yeah, it was each time it came on all of a sudden, and each time it was when I was starting to put my notes from the previous day of being out in my research area.
I was wondering if you're taking your energy away from him by doing your notes. In other words, you'd have to block him off in order to focus in on your notes.
I've never had any problem before at all. They've never given me an indication of not to say something, or, actually they gave me the indication that they want me to say something.
Okay.
They want me to-
This thing about the infrasound, to them, that must be a really good defense and offense kind of a
Well, I would say it is.
thing. So that
You know,
that
it's
skill
something
is like a
hits you
really
like-
big deal.
Yeah, if something hits you at the snap of a fingers and all of a sudden you are just sick,
I've heard of
that's
people who just drop to their knees and just
it's pretty
doubled over.
incapacitating. I can tell you that right now. It's just like, wow, what the heck was that? And oh boy, it was powerful.
There's so many different ways they can do that too. Sometimes you feel like you're walking through a force field and you can hardly walk or whatever, too.
Like you're walking through cement.
Like what?
Like you're walking through cement.
Yeah. Yes. So, let's get into some of the, so you say that they are teaching you things. And,
Yeah,
and so what is the purpose of what is the purpose, do you think, from your perspective now, of the relationship? What are they trying to instill in you, or what are they trying to teach you? And you said there were a lot of subtle things that they did that you have to pay attention to, and that's my experience too. So I'm just interested in how are they bringing you along?
A lot of it is that they let me figure it out for myself. Like right now, they're teaching me patience, and because there's things that they've wanted me to do, and they know I'm kind of OCD. So it's like one day I was up, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to kind of practice a little. I kind of understand what remote viewing is all about. So I parked myself on a landing. It was starting to rain and stuff, and I got up there. I had actually brought them some apples and stuff, and I was bringing an offering up. So I got to thinking of them there, and I'm clearing my mind, and I'm just sitting back, relaxing, listening to the rain, just clearing things in my mind. And they put a thought into my head: go to the spring, go directly to the spring. I'm like,
Well, wait a minute.
okay.
Hold on a second. Was it like thought placement, or you heard a voice?
No, it's thought placement.
And how did you just got to recognize that because it just happens all the time kind of thing?
I'm getting used to that's what they do to me and how they
Right,
communicate with me.
right. Okay, yeah, I understand that. Okay.
Well, sometimes, Mama and JJ actually can be verbal with me. For months before my fifth sighting or my sixth sighting, my last one, I would just be stepping out of my van in the area and up there, and I'd hear Bill in a really sweet, beautiful, feminine voice. And I'm like, there ain't nobody out here. And that was, I was, because when I go up to the spring and stuff, I'll holler out, Bill's here, just for fun and do it all the time. Bill's here. And so they know my name. And she'd been calling my name for probably 2 months up until I had the sighting of her. And it would just be in sporadic areas. And I would hear my name being called in the woods. I'm like, am I hearing things? That's kind of the thing I talked to Thom about. I said, Thom, am I going nuts? I said, this is really making me question my sanity. He says, no, just go with it. Go with it. Whatever happens, just go with it. You'll understand it later. He said, it'll come together. Don't worry. And yeah, it was just the strangest thing. Then the one day, let me finish my fifth sighting and everything. Then we'll run into everything else.
Okay.
Anyways, after the tree knocks and JJ showed up there, I did what Thom did, and I just mainly focused on my book. So what they're doing is they're hearing my thoughts in my head as I'm reading this, because I read it out loud in my mind, these Sasquatch encounters. I don't know if they thought it was humorous to them or whatever, that everybody was kind of scared to death in all these encounters and everything. But, they were there until I basically just about finished the book, because I was just in the last couple chapters. And then I look up and they were gone. The whole thing lasted, and I looked at my watch when it started, or my phone, and it was 45 minutes in total. So I sat there for a few minutes, and because I'd eat my lunch and everything while they were there, and try not to pay too much attention. I just get up every couple minutes and do a little stretch, and look out and look over casually and go, "Hi guys," and sit back down and go back to reading. And because Thom said, if you want to increase the time you spend with them, don't pay attention to them, to start with. And so that's what I did, and it absolutely worked. I went from having 2-minute intervals with them to 45 on that one. So when they left, I walked up the road and I told you I found the prints. So I took pictures of those. I called or sent pictures directly to my friend Randy Sylvie for the Bigfoot Research Group. And Randy's like, well, let me get you a hold of one of the other members. She's actually down in Grants Pass right now with some family, and see if we can get her out there. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to break away. So I headed directly to Lowe's, got hydrocowl. I was all set and ready. But by the time I got back up there, because I was waiting for, this was Shannon Munson was her name. She was going to get a hold of me and just kind of kept putting it off, and I'll get a hold of you in a little while, and I'll get a hold of you in a little while. Well, I'm not sure if I can break away. Then it was like finally just before, probably an hour before sunset. Well, I'm not going to be able to make it. So I hightailed it back up there in hopes that I could get a plaster cast. And because looking from the footprint, everybody goes, oh, that's a double bear step. I say, there's no claws. And because his break in his arch was just about that shape. Matter of fact, I have a cast of one I did of him and knuckle marks of his, because he stepped in. I stepped in originally some really deep loam, and I just sunk down and I put my hand down and I looked over and I saw the juvenile had done the same thing coming from the other direction. And so I casted that, and I noticed the knuckle marks and stuff. Then up, I noticed where he'd gone under the bushes and did 3 little side steps before he hit all this stuff. And I would have never seen it if I hadn't stepped down and just sank immediately down into that loam, all the litter that was there. So that's how I knew, I'd measured his prints up there in 9.5. So I assumed that was his prints and stuff. Now they're 10 inches. Because here just a few weeks ago, my son was here to visit. We found a trackway in the snow of probably anywhere from 400 to 1,000 prints. And one of my questions was, and this goes back to answering my questions, the way they do them, is I knew there was a fourth member of this little clan. But I thought it was probably older. But there's another juvenile that I haven't met yet, and it's a real young one. Its footprints are about 5.5 inches by about almost 3 inches wide. And my son was with me to discover this one. And I went to go film the trackway. I was all excited. We had a dinner going on at home, so we had to get going. So I thought I'd film the trackway. Well, I got about 12 minutes of audio because I left the lens on the camera. It was so bright out. We'd been taking pictures with our phones, but we couldn't see our screens. We were just doing it blindly because of the reflection between the snow and the sun. So I was assuming that was the same problem I was having with my camera, that I just couldn't see the screen of it. So I'm filming away and it was just the most beautiful trackway you ever saw. On the left side was Mama and baby. Mama was taking shorter steps. I know hers because her feet are 14.5 inches. And then I saw all the little baby prints next to her. JJ's was on the right side of the road. And I know he's grown. His are now 10 inches. It's been 2 years, so of course he's going to grow. And I thought, oh, that's great. My son got to see it. My son was kind of on the fence, or at least I thought he was on the fence until he saw the first tree structure. And he really looked, and this was right at the beginning of my research area. And he looked at that thing and I said, I want you to tell me your thoughts on this because, him and I have never talked Sasquatch. It's a long story about, I was just his sire. His mother wanted to have a child, but she wanted to raise it by herself independently without me. And that's where he came from. And I respected her wishes. And we didn't have contact until my daughter passed away. Him and my daughter had contact for years because when they were going to school together, he lives in Landers, California. But in Canyonville, they were going to school together, and school teachers know me. And they walked up to my daughter one day and said, would you like to meet your brother? She's like, what? Would you like to meet your brother? And they introduced him to my daughter. And so him and her had stayed in contact for years. But this is the structure that I showed him, the first tree structure. And every bit of this is under compression. Everything is holding everything. The archway, the whole archway is held by compression. There's nothing at the end. There is, a lot of times you'll find it tucked or a log stuck over the end to kind of hold it down. Can you see that at all?
Back it up a bit.
But yeah, it's an arch with an X in it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
It is absolutely gorgeous. This makes it look small. And my son had seen me post pictures of it before, but when he got to see it in person, I just watched his jaw hit the ground. He's looking at this thing, and I said, now tell me how that's put together. And he's looking at it, he says, it took 3 individuals to put this together. He said, one had to hold this over here while one was running this tree up this way, and then the other one's running the tree up this way. And they're all weaved in together to where they're tight against each other. And that's all that's holding it there. If I grabbed the tip of that tree and shook it, it would probably come unglued and fling me a half a mile down the road. It's just a beautiful, beautiful archway with an X in it. Just absolutely gorgeous.
It is.
But that started bringing him off the fence. He's like, I believe, Dad. Then it wasn't 15 minutes after we left this that we found the trackway. I went up as far as I could drive. And this was just in April. So just a couple months ago. And he was up here for a friend's wedding that was getting married in Eugene. And But there was nothing on the way up, so I went up as far as I can drive. I just looked at it and go, well, let's go take a walk and see what we can find. So we got through this first snow patch where I stopped at. Then there was a little bit of dry pavement, probably for 50 feet. Then there's another snow patch. In that second snow patch, which wasn't visible by where I parked because it's kind of slightly a little bit around the corner, we saw the first prints. He's like, Dad, I found prints. I'm like, no, it's probably somebody's boot marks. He said, I see toes. He saw the toe impressions in the tracks. I went, well, let me see. And I went up, walked up and saw that, and I went, oh, wow. All right, we got a trackway. I said, that's JJ. I said, that's the juvenile I've been telling you about. He's like, oh, that's really neat, Dad. So I said, well, let's follow it. So we followed it up. There was like 3 or 4 different patches of snow, then pavement, or not, it's not pavement, it's gravel. But where it was dry, then snow, dry, then snow. It just depended on where the sun was hitting the most. And we got to where we could see somebody had actually driven that far to where all of a sudden it was 2 feet deep. And their tire impressions where they stopped was right there. And they backed out of there and got the heck out of there because they couldn't go any further, because probably when they did that, it was probably another 1.5 feet deeper. So we got to that, and we're following JJ's tracks on the right side of the road. And going, I said, look at that trackway. See how they're in a straight line. He said, we don't walk that way. I said, no, we don't. I said, what do you think? He said, we don't walk that way. Then he said, looked over to the left. He said, Dad, there's 2 other sets of tracks over here. And one was Mama's and one was the baby's. And Mama was taking shorter steps because she was walking baby along. So you see the baby tracks and Mama taking shorter steps. And I looked at hers and I went, yeah, 14.5, that's Mama, you know? And this was before I'd met her, but I knew her tracks. And I didn't know that there had been a baby. So that was another way they're answering my question about, I knew there was another member of the clan.
Yeah.
I just hadn't met it yet. I didn't know it was going to be another juvenile, a younger juvenile. And so I found that and I told him that. I said, this is the way they answer questions. They don't always tell you, they show you and let you figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
I said, this is what I'm going through, is they make me think deeply about what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, why, and then remembering that, oh, I had this question in my mind about this. So,
Right.
you know, and those are the things I was doing, is like when I had the sighting with Silver and JJ at the marsh, you know, my big thing then was about hiding in plain sight, you know, and he showed me how to hide in plain sight, because if I didn't know or figure out what I was looking at, I'd have never known. I would have just looked at it and go, where did that bush come from? Now, that bush wasn't there 5 seconds ago. Where did that bush come from? Did it just grow out of nothing? You know, so that's one of their ways they answer.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's my experience too. But have you also had sometimes it'll be instantaneous too. You'll get a thought and the answer. Well, with me, sometimes I'll get a thought and the answer will be right there, like immediately. Do you experience that too?
Not yet. Not yet. It's like I was starting to tell you, when I stopped at the landing and was going to try a little remote viewing. Well, didn't really get to the remote viewing before, you know, they popped that into my head, this statement about, you know, go directly to the spring.
Yeah.
So I headed towards the spring, but I stopped in the middle on the way. And what it is, it's in a very active spot that they have. I actually have out here in my shed a Sasquatch killed bear, where the neck is wrung like a wrung out washcloth.
Wow.
Its back legs, everything's still attached, and I still have it incomplete. Where I found it in August. I was coming back from my daughter's place from seeing my grandchildren, and I thought, well, I'm going to take the back way. And so I took the country road. No, I'm not going to stop by my research area. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm going to stop by my research area. And I got by this spot and I looked down there and I saw the carcass down there. It was just the bones and it had a very thin film of meat still on it, like it had been all the meat had been scraped off by something, but left a very, very thin sheet of meat. And what it was is it started out as I found turkey vulture feathers. And I went to go pick up a feather and the turkey vulture took off. And he hit every branch on the way out. I mean, it was very clumsy on his way out, unfortunately for him. And but I jumped him and I thought, well, I'm gonna collect some of these feathers and stuff, but I can't get down there to the carcass. It's probably just a deer. Because I do this by myself, so I'm very careful about not getting injured and stuff. Because this is a bank that just, I mean, it's almost straight down, and it's at a spot where I do my gifting to them. There's an arched tree right there that comes over the pathway, and I set apples on that, garlic, and things along that line. But the bear was directly under it, so I call this their dining room. And so for 7 weeks. Other than the turkey vulture, nothing touched the carcass. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was still there, still intact. So I was like, okay, I've got to get down there. I've got to go check this thing out. And so I made my, how you stomp and you go side hill, trying to get down and make myself a pathway down that was safe, and my feet were stable under me, which brings another thing up. But I'll get into that in a little bit. I got myself down there and I started looking at it because I looked at it with my camera from the top of the roadway, and which I'm about 30 feet away from the carcass. And I saw a bunch of black tuft down right at the lower section of where the carcass was. And I was like, what is that? Is that hair or is it feces? Or well, maybe whatever it is will tell me what, attacked this thing, Well, I got down there. The back legs, everything, the spine still all attached to the hips and everything else, and to the legs. The paws are pinched off. There's no marks, no predation marks on them whatsoever. I have pictures of it all from when I first got it. The back legs are tucked up inside of the rib cage, still attached to the spine and the hips and the whole pelvis, the whole 9 yards. That takes hands to do. That doesn't just happen in nature. So that's the first thing that surprised me. And at the neck, there was an X. And one of the sticks of the X goes through the neck vertebrae. So it was placed there. Because they knew I was going to ask them if I could have it. For some reason, they knew, like you say, they can go forwards and backwards and see, what's going to happen in my future or my past or anything else. So they knew exactly that I was going to be taking that home.
Right.
So that as a welcome, that I was welcome to it.
That's kind of how that's one of the reasons why they can leave something so instantaneously is because they already know that you're going to formulate that question.
Yeah.
So it's already there by the time you're thinking it. And of course, they can also stop time and
I don't know if they do that for everything, but they do that for kind of important things, like important teachings or important events.
This was an important teaching here.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was on my way to the spring, after they told me to go directly to the spring. And I stopped there just to take a look around at things. I'd already collected the bear. I did that a couple months earlier. And I got 3 steps from my van, and I just had the overwhelming feeling, go strap my gun on. So I stepped right back to the van immediately and strapped on my gun. And I just had a feeling that I needed to be armed. And because they know they allow me to be armed around them. They know I'm not going to hurt them. And I've told them verbally and mentally that this is not for you. This is for my protection against cougars and bears because they're unpredictable. I know how to deal with them, but there's going to be that one time that one is not going to, be thwarted by, my usual tactics of getting rid of them. And so I felt really I was not at ease at all. And so I put my gun on. I jacked around in the chamber, had it all ready, and So I wandered around. I went up and looked at my gifting tree where I found the bear carcass and everything. And I was looking for anything new because the way I do my research and walk through my areas, I'll walk 20 yards, stand, and take 15 minutes to scan the entire area and look for any anomalies, look for anything that's different, look for anything that's new, anything that's changed. And I do that every time I go up there. Even though it's only a 13-mile loop, I spend the entire day there because I do that. And well, I got up to the pond after that. I got back in my van. I felt a little better. Okay, nothing jumped out and beat me up while I was there, but I just had the overwhelming feeling I needed to be armed. So I'm sitting there at the pond, relaxing, just waiting and hoping that, maybe they'll come by because they know I'm there. I can't even leave my house without them knowing I'm on my way. Because we're that connected, or it seems that we're that connected. Because sometimes they tell me to stay home. Sometimes they tell me to stay home and rest because they know I need sleep. But I would rather go up squatching. But I listen to them, and I've had some of the best sleep I've ever had because I have apnea, so I don't sleep a full night. I sleep a few hours and I'm awake because I'm shuddered awake trying to breathe. But I'm at the pond for about 15 minutes and I hear meow. I'm like, looking around going, is there a cat in the woods? I've never heard a cougar meow. All the time I've been in the woods in my life, I have never heard a cougar meow. First time I ever heard a cougar meow. Sounded just like a house cat, except more powerful. And so I heard that about 7 or 8 times. I'm just smiling, grinning ear to ear, because I was like, man, how many human beings ever get to hear this? Have you ever heard it, Thom?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Yes, I have. I love it.
Not everybody gets to hear that.
No, no.
That is just a rare thing. I got home and I had to look it up on the internet. Do
Mhm.
cougars meow? Yeah, I found a couple examples.
They purr also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just absolutely blew my mind because I had no idea. So now I understood why I needed to be armed when I had stopped
Yeah.
at the gifting tree and stuff, is because there was a cougar there. So I think a lot of times they test my intuition on things like that because they know I'm going to go squirrel and not go direct and do exactly what they want me to do. But I'm learning that now. Anytime I get that thought or feeling they want me to do something, I do it directly. I don't stop in the middle, regardless of how bad I want to. I go directly there. So I just thought that was just interesting as hell. That's another one of their teaching things for me.
Mhm.
And one of the ways they teach me in an indirect way. But they want me to figure it out myself for the most part. But when I do, they're on to something else. So the next one comes up. The next one comes up. Right now it's patience. Because I understand right now, this time of year, don't have much contact with them because they come up in the late evening, but they're going down to the river bottoms and down the mouths of the creeks because the fish are running. When the dogwoods are blooming, that's a native thing. When the dogwoods bloom, salmon are running. This year it's been a really bad run of the springers, but right now people are down on the rogue and they're starting to catch them again. So I know they're down in the bottoms. And but they will come up. They do still come up through the area. They go right on up and over the top now. And I think they're spending more time on the other side of the mountain on the north face because there's a couple squatters that are down below, and I think they're just avoiding them. Last week when I went up where I had my sighting last year, that is one spot that is still active. They're not using the other trails that are there. They're just using the same one that Mama and JJ walked up when I had my sighting that day. And I have a picture for you, Arla. I hear you like hearts.
I do.
Just before my sighting, I was taking pictures of a stump that's back behind, probably 30 yards behind where my sighting was.
Mhm.
Sun was coming through it, and it's a perfect heart. I'm going
Yep.
to send it.
Awesome. I'd like
I'm
that.
going to PM it to you. So I
I'd
think you'll
like
like
that.
it. I think you'll like it. It was a perfect heart coming through, and not more than 10 minutes after that is when I had my sighting.
Awesome.
And it was pretty cool.
It's all about the heart. It's all
Yeah,
about the
everybody,
heart.
yeah, everybody goes, oh, Arla would love that. I said, what? Arla loves hearts. So when I went up a couple weeks ago, in December, my day after Christmas, my cat passed away. We were in the middle of a windstorm. And I mean, it was a windstorm. It was blowing like crazy, which makes me nervous to be in the woods. I won't go in the woods when it's blowing like that. But my cat passed away. And so I messaged them, mentally, let them know that, hey, I'm coming up there. My cat passed away. I'm going to bury her at the spring. I want you guys to protect her and keep an eye on her and, make sure that, she's not going to be disturbed. So I buried her up there at the spring. But the thing of it is I kind of in my mind showed them the route I was going to take. That way the road was clear, because the road should not have been clear whatsoever. There should be deadfalls across the roadway, everything else. Well, I counted about 5 deadfalls. And I know Forest Service hadn't been up there because it was in the middle of the storm. When I was getting ready to go up there, they'll even tell me what time to leave the house. They're like, don't leave till 10. I'm like, okay. I get those messages. I'm like, okay, like Thom said, go with it. Just go with it. Okay. They understand the concept of time. At least, that we have a concept of it. And so I didn't go up there till 10. On my way up, as soon as I stepped out the door, there was a double rainbow that I could see. And I was like, oh, well, that's a good sign. And it was starting to clear, just a short temporary thing. It was relatively calm all my way up there. And I made it all the way up there to the pond, and there was no trees in the road. It all been cleared. And there's no way, because the storm had just stopped temporarily, just before I got up there. Because it was still blowing me around on my way up. And I mean, these were powerful winds. They were probably hitting 60, 70 mile an hour up there. And it's going to take trees down no matter what. It doesn't matter. You're in the forest, trees are coming down. But the road was clear. And I counted about, at least 5 or 6 trees that had been moved out of the roadway for the route that I had pictured that I was going to take to the pond. So it was all clear. When I got up by close to where the gifting tree is, where I found the bear carcass, there was the top of an alder about 15 feet long, snapped and stuck up and leaned up along a tree at the roadway. And then across from it was 4 tree snaps, one really high, one down a little further, one down a little further, like it was representing each of the 4 of them, and I was the alder tree. And I got it that it was a message for me, that they'd been there. And I figured, oh, thanks for clearing the road, is what I told them. So I went up, buried my cat, and as soon as I put rocks over, what I did is I made offerings. I did my prayers, and because I'm native, I did a little ceremony for her. This is my buddy. I was the last of our pets in the house here, and I figure I'm getting too old to, have any more because cats live 20, 25 years. I'm almost 60 years old, so I didn't want to burden anybody else with one of my pets if anything happens to me. But as soon as I put her on a bed of cedar, I made an offering to the cedar tree and asked if I could use some of the cedar, because that's what we do as natives, is we make tobacco offerings to the trees before we, make use of anything we take off them. I made her a really nice bed of cedar, covered her in cedar, and then, put the dirt over. Then on top, I gathered, fair-sized rocks because I didn't want animals digging her up. Now, I put her deep enough that, there shouldn't have been a problem, but still, I put a bunch of big rocks. I took a heart rock up there just a few weeks or 2 weeks ago. And because everybody's talking about heart rocks, and somebody mentioned about you and the stump, or you liking hearts, Arla.
Mhm.
And so I said, you know what? I've got a heart I would love to put on my cat's grave. We'll see what happens. It's for them. It's not for my cat, but I'm going to put it on my cat's grave because when I got up there 2 weeks ago, this is what I found. Can you see it?
I can see an X. Look, X.
Yeah, it's a star.
Star, right?
Yeah,
It's a star glyph. It's right next to my cat's grave. And this is green boughs, if you notice. They're all green. It was just done before I got there.
It's living, right?
It was living until just before I got there. And so I put that heart rock and stashed it in. So we'll see what happens. I haven't been back up there since. So actually I was going to go after our interview today, but I'll probably go tomorrow. I got so much to do because Beachfoot coming up. I'm going to go see Thom and try to get everything done, and gotta go pay bills and put money in the bank and pay my car insurance and all that fun stuff. So,
You,
but
you,
I'll probably go up
you,
there.
you,
I'll
you
message-
can combine those two. You can just bring your money and leave it here. I'll watch it.
Tom will take care of it for you.
I'm gonna leave some in your tummy when I get up there, Thom. You know we're
Oh,
gonna
I'll do
eat.
that.
You know where we're going for breakfast.
Yeah.
That place is great. I love that place. So,
Hey, where was that? Where is that place? Because we were up there and I was trying to get Stu to Google a good breakfast place, but
Oh, heavens. Charlie's just as you're going out of town.
yeah, that
Uniplaw,
place is
right?
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good food. Really good food. Good
Yeah,
atmosphere. The wait staff, they're all family, right, Thom?
Yeah.
Most of the wait staff, yeah. Really good people, really nice people.
Hmm.
And of course, Thom went in there like he owned the place, and they treated him like he owned the place. So it's like, oh no, you've never been here, have you, Thom?
Oh, they don't hardly know me there.
Yeah, not at all. So that's where we're going to be eating breakfast for 2 days.
Mm,
But when I do come up, Thom, I'll probably leave here at midnight and drive
Okay.
all night. So I will be there for breakfast. So hold off.
Mhm.
I can't guarantee you exactly what time. You're 7.5 hours away. I'm gonna have to stop and spring a leak here and there, and
Yeah.
get
I
gas and
understand.
all the other stuff. So, but I'll be there probably
Mhm.
before 9. I would say in the
Okay.
morning.
I used
So
to work
just to let you
graveyard.
know.
I used to work graveyard. So when I went up and visited
That's
my
what I
wife
learned.
in Oregon, from Vancouver, British Columbia, I would always drive back at night because the traffic to Seattle to Tacoma is just
Yeah,
bad.
between what I learned in my travels, because I used to be on the road, is between 3 and 6 a.m. and or no, between 6 and 9 a.m. in the morning and 3 and 6 p.m. in the evening. Stay the heck out of a big city because you're going to be locked into the traffic, and it's always those hours, no matter where you go on this planet. I don't care where you go.
The only-
Anytime in
the on-
between
the
those
only-
hours is the time to make sure that you're not there.
The only two times to stay off I-5 through Tacoma and Seattle is from noon to midnight, and then again from midnight to noon.
Yeah, yeah, especially around Olympia.
Yeah,
Gosh, the traffic through there is nasty.
that's right at shift time though. That's predictable.
Yeah,
You
that
get
was
to
probably,
Seattle is just all the time. It's just
yeah, well,
miserable.
there was when I was coming to see you, there was some kind of boating thing going on there.
Mm.
And that's why I guess that's why the traffic was so snarled up and stuff when I was on my way to see you. Luckily, it was on the southbound side, not the northbound side. So I actually skated through most of that.
Mm.
So and going out to Enumclaw was nothing, So
Well, Bill, I wanted to just thank you for your stories. You have an authentic relationship. It's pretty good, and that's rare. Okay, it's happening more and more, but it's still
yeah,
rare
it's
because
getting
you
more and more
figure
intense.
99% of the people are still in the Patterson Gimlin
Well,
phase.
they're banging on trees and doing sound blasting, and they're repeating these calls that they've recorded from other Sasquatches. How do you know what they're saying? I wouldn't do that. He's probably saying, "Come on, I'm gonna beat your ass. Come on, boy." I don't know what you're hollering in the night. So that's kind of ignorant as far as I'm concerned. I thought about all these things going, finding Bigfoot, they beat on trees and did all this stuff for 10 years and never saw Bigfoot. And every sound they heard was going away from them. Because, well, it was. If you pay attention, it was loud to start with, then it was further away, then it was further away than gone. It's
Yeah.
like Well, Bigfoot has a sense of humor too, you know? They
I
were probably laughing all the way as they were exiting the area.
I only saw,
Yeah, you believe these guys?
I only saw 2 editions of that show. The first one Bob was on and the one I was on. It's the only 2 I watched.
Uh,
Well, what do you think the Sasquatch are? Do you have a good handle on that, or like a formed opinion?
to be honest with you, we have to be related. There's just no other way. They're upright. They're designed to be upright and bipedal by the placement of their head, you know, on their spine. With the trapezius muscles coming up where everything attaches. People like Jeff Meldrum and Cliff Barrickman and stuff, they think that it's a stupid ape. It's like, first of all, they have a language. Stupid things don't have a language. And they can speak.
Oh, I've heard
any
some pretty stupid people talking.
Yeah, but they don't know, they can't speak every language on the planet and communicate with anybody in any language.
Right, I know. Yeah, I know.
I
Of
thoroughly
course.
believe when they're communicating with an individual, that they take that language right out of that individual's head.
I believe so as well.
Yeah,
I really do.
And remember this, there's only 2 individuals on Earth that are capable of articulated speech.
Yes,
We and Sasquatch.
that has a hyoid bone.
There's others have a hyoidal bone. It's just they're not attached the same.
Yep.
Most primates can make squeals and squeaks, but they
Yeah,
can't
but they can't
articulate
do
speech.
speech. Yeah, they can articulate the
Mhm.
speech.
so you want to continue
Exactly.
on what you think they are? So we know that you've stated that you know that they're very much like us because they do have a language. So do you want to continue?
Yeah, they think they've got feelings. They're very family oriented.
Yeah.
You know, from what I see, very protective of their family.
Mhm.
You know, which leads me to be so impressed that they trust their family with me. That he trusted to let the mother meet me, to let the juvenile meet me. You know, and I got within 10 feet of her in the juvenile on my last sighting. Which let's go ahead and go into that.
Okay.
And this will be, I told you earlier about the sidestep, to remember about the sidestep. Because in order for us to get up and down steep hills, we can't walk up and down them straight up and down. You know, if we do, it's going to flex our tendon so bad it's going to pull it out of shape and stretch it. Then you're going to be learning to walk again for the next year. I've stretched my tendon twice. I know what it's like. And to be able to walk hills straight up like they do, we can't do it. There's no way. So we do a side hill walk. And by doing a side hill walk, that gives you more surface area to plant your foot to get a better grip to go up. You know, because you're not on a slide with inertia going to push you down, or gravity. You're going to pull you back. You're going on a side step. You don't have the gravity issue. You're just, you know, you're making more of a surface area for you to gain yourself. So I had been down at the pond or the spring and checking. I wasn't seeing too much going on there. So I was like, well, okay, you know, it's getting later in the day. I probably was down at the pond. I'll go down there and just like Thom says, do armchair squatching. And I just sit and relax. I wander around the pond. Matter of fact, there's a tree in the pond that's upside down, planted the top end first, no roots. It was one that was snapped off, but that's there at the pond. And Thom, what are those when they do that? Is it a power thing or
What's that
exactly?
now?
Or, when they flip a tree and plant it topside down?
Now, see, they do that, yes, but many people do that too. Okay, when you get somebody sitting in a loader with nothing to do, and that's where you'll find those showing up. Because
Well, this didn't happen from a loader.
yeah. Well, I said they do it too, but so you have to be very, very careful of those. They're hard to authenticate. They're like a rock
Yeah.
stack and trying to authenticate.
Well, I can
Yeah.
say
Rock stack structures and those are all
Yeah.
hard to authenticate because
Yeah.
people do them too.
But
I've
they,
been
but
fooled.
they
I've
have
seen,
several reasons they do them, but generally it's a message to one another. And like all of their structures, if it's for you, you don't have much trouble understanding it. If it isn't for you, you have a great deal of trouble understanding it. So,
Well, when I spotted it, I knew exactly what it was and how it got there. And I figured
mean,
this was.
that's
I
why
figured-
excuse me a second. That's why discernment is so important. Because I found a lot of structures that I thought looked exactly like Sasquatch structures. Then I go there and I see a group of school kids leaning the sticks up against a tree and putting moss on them and doing all the stuff that I equate with Sasquatch structures. So we know that people do them and Sasquatch do them. I mean, there are
it's important.
certain
to
indicators.
authenticate.
There's collaborative evidence like footprints around it,
Mhm.
or glyphs around them, and in some cases, like they're curious of what we do.
Well,
So
there is
there's a lot of times
activity.
when we will find a structure that maybe a human spirit and the Sasquatch will add on to it, vice versa. So there's a lot of different ways that those come about, but yeah, it's
I'm in an
inexact science.
I'm in a completely different camp when it comes to that. I don't care if there's an X there or if somebody made it or Boy Scouts do it. I don't care because to me that's not what it is. It's like we're in a relationship with these people, and we're learning from these people, and to me that's the connection. That's what's important. All this other stuff I can take. Yeah, okay. I've seen a lot of structures. I've seen a lot of little stick lifts and been given signs and all that kind of stuff. And you could hoax or any it or you could say anything you want to it. But the real deal is that you're friends with these amazing forest people. And that doesn't change whether the stick lift is real or somebody hoaxed it or the Boy Scouts did it. That doesn't really change the
It does if
situation.
you're sharing it with other people.
I agree with you, Beans. In the case of some of the glyphs or whatever, like it's undeniable. Some of
Well,
them,
I don't put that.
but
I don't, I
you're
don't
no,
put
no,
that
you're
out
right.
there as proof. It's
No.
like you can feel it.
Well,
If you're out there and you're
I could-
seeing something 40 feet tall, that's pretty much you don't have to worry about
Yeah,
No,
well, that's
it.
what,
But
most of the
if
ones in my
somebody's doing
area are
stacks or something,
40, 50 feet tall.
no,
It's just-
I agree with Beans. The thing is that like some of them are made by people, some of them aren't, and it's not really as important as the relationship and the teachings. I mean, like that's why I don't really care about the evidence end of it. I get a lot of evidence just by being around them and by them sharing with me. But I really don't care. I couldn't care less. It's all about it is really all about the relationship, the teachings, the connection, and to me anyway,
Well, you've got to take too what's going on with the person. And like you said, it's in the area where he always goes.
Yep.
And
There's a
so
lot
it,
going on
and
there.
you know yourself that sometimes when you see something, you know exactly what it is and why it's there.
oh yeah,
And
for sure.
so, yeah, you have to think logically, but
Yep.
you
Use
know,
reasoning,
get,
logic, everything.
yeah, get
I
past
exam-
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
who would
examined.
be up there? What human would be up there in
There you
this
go, right there, because
area
this is
doing
actually,
this?
it's easily accessible, but and when I'm up there, maybe 1 out of 10 times does somebody actually drive up there that
Yeah.
I actually have another vehicle. That's
Yeah.
how off rare it is that anybody goes up there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With the exception of the squatters that are up there hiding right now. But other than
And
that,
they're probably not going to take a tree that was broke off and
so
stick it in that.
So
So,
that was the biggest thing. It's like 10
Yeah.
feet high. It's probably 2 feet in the ground. And I would probably estimate it probably minimum of 350 pounds.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You
we
know,
know
so
people do them, and
I don't think-
we know both people and them do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's the bottom line. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the circumstances often dictate what it is. Like for instance, I got a glyph of my, that represents my wife and myself connection. And it was hanging from a tree, and you were talking about the twists and whatever. Well, this
Yep.
thing was twisted from a green living tree into the shape of the glyph, you know, and it was right in my area, like, you know, like you say, and whatever. So, you know, we do know they obviously do a lot of it. But I think what Beans was saying is that it's all important, and it depends on and where you are in your journey. It's all important. But I think that the ultimate thing that we want, hopefully, and I'm sure that you want that too, the ultimate thing, and you've got a lot of that, is you want that connection, that family, that spiritual connection, the family connection, that kind of thing is really the thing that I think is important. But it's all important, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, even the
Did I say
physical
anything right?
things, the physical things they do as a human are very important to humans
Yeah,
because that's how we do things. Now, you know, a lot of your relationship is not going to be actually something physical done. But like with the glyphs, that's a physical thing, a physical connection to them.
yeah,
And the same with some of the structures. That's a physical connection to them. And now with this tree and some of the other things that goes on, that's a physical thing. We can see that. It's tangible. It's in
yeah,
our dimension. It's a 3-dimension thing that speaks to a higher vibration
yeah,
connection.
yeah.
And
And you
that's
know,
really important.
and from the pictures that you showed me, Bill, you know, the one with the arch and the big X or whatever, that does to me look like Sasquatch stuff for sure.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, you know, like, you know, sometimes it's not, but I believe that is. I mean, like, for instance, you know, like they communicate with me with glyphs. Or not, no, that's not the only, but that's how they kind of started communicating with me. And it's still, and you know, when you find the exact glyph that you know what the meaning is, and you find it in a parking lot 500 miles away from where you live, and
you're like, huh?
there's not another stick
Yep.
in that parking lot, and it's
And not
right
another
beside your
full
car
fight.
door, and it's right
Yeah.
beside your car door, you know, you know what's going
Yeah.
on, right? So anyway.
I
Yeah, they
like
come up.
I like that you said you were visited by JJ, the adolescent.
Yeah,
And I wanted to ask you that, and you were seeing signs that he had been there. He did something with the washing machine, which just sounds mind blowing to me.
yeah. Spun the drum of the wash machine.
Mhm.
And that was, you were inside the house, and then you actually
I was I was sitting at my computer getting ready to start on my notes for
yeah.
my research from the day
Then
before.
you went outside and it was still spinning.
No, no, I sat there and I heard it spin and just slow down like it just finished a spin cycle and it starts to wind down.
Yeah. And where was that? Was that in the garage or was it in your kitchen
No,
or what?
no, no, I'm in a mobile home here. So
Okay.
it was on my back entry.
Okay.
I have a little side room right there with washer, dryer, and a big upright freezer. And
So if you, so was, you didn't see him though.
no,
Okay.
no,
So
just
he could have been standing there being invisible, because that's mostly what I experience.
absolutely. Like I said,
Mostly
I
what I
heard a
experience
big
when I
thud
experience things around
first.
me.
I
It's
was like,
just,
well, what the heck was that coming from my back porch?
yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
heard the spin. And I went back afterwards and I tried to spin that drum and
You couldn't do it, yeah, like not like that.
I couldn't do it, not even close. Not
Yeah.
even close.
Well, I think everybody in this group has had the Sasquatch in their house. I mean,
You know, what kind of
I've got somebody hanging around right now that I keep seeing out of the corner of my eye, like constantly. And then there's also like, I'll hear a big bang or something. And actually Sue saw a big bundle of wood picked up from my porch, actually lifted off something and fell. So, I mean, we've all had them in the house, and that's very common. Because they
Yeah,
like to be, you know, what's
I
that?
told them they're welcome in my house. Just don't freak out the roommate. I said, because I don't think she could handle it. It'd probably put her over the edge because she doesn't believe in any of it. She really doesn't. And, you know, that's her thing. I don't care. That's part of the reason I'm single. And actually, I'm enjoying life more now than I have in a long time.
So
So,
that's a real lead into one of our great questions at the end of the show, which is we're pretty close. This is like 4
3.
hours now. But
3 hours.
but
Yep.
your life has changed, man. Your life has radically
absolutely.
changed. So could you go into
Absolutely.
that the qualities of the stuff that you can you can express about how you changed from
Heck,
then to
a
now?
a month ago, I went ziplining with my niece. You know, something I never would have thought of doing. And she's like, she's been wanting me to do it for a long time and finally came down to it. I said, well, let's go. I had a blast. I used to be afraid of heights. I have no fear anymore at all of it.
Oh,
So yeah, I got it all on film. Zip lining through we have the longest zip line in Oregon here, which is over a quarter mile. And that was a total blast because I'm a big guy. It didn't take long. I was like, boy, that was a short ride. I said, man, it sucks being a big guy. But
So
it was
why,
total.
why is it that you don't have any fear anymore? I mean, I've got my reasons for why I would say that, but what is it? Why would you say that? Why don't you have any fear anymore? Just because you faced your biggest fear
I
face
faced
to face or whatever?
well, that was my biggest fear was heights. No, I've gone through and faced all my fears when I was young because I knew that we make up our own fear. I've always been well advanced of most people growing up. When I was in 8th grade or 8 years old, I was reading college and university level, and same with comprehension. I was what you call basically a prodigy.
Okay.
I went. They took me out of school in 4th grade. Did a bunch of testing on me, tested my IQ and everything, which is extremely high, and put me in high school from 4th grade.
Wow.
But I didn't like it. It upset me a lot. I'm not with my friends. They treated me like crap. The high school kids did. You know, I'm just some little punk kid running around school. What's going on here? You know, the kid that knows it all and stuff. So, you know, I just dumbed myself down and went back the way it was because it was just too much.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you do what you do. I wasn't comfortable.
Why do you
So,
think why do you think the Sasquatch? I mean, there's many reasons why the Sasquatch become interested in us. Some of it could be from past life connections. Some of it could be just they see our heart and it's ready to open. That we're open to teaching or whatever. Why do you think that they picked Mustang or Bill as one of their students?
probably because I'm very open-minded. Like I said, I've had a lot of abilities growing up. And so I was open to a lot of things and understand a lot more than a lot of other people. And I see a lot more things than other people normally do. You know, I see a lot of I walk in both worlds. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And
I
so
think
how,
I think you got a valuable, thing to say to people because, like we were saying, there's not that many people. Who's that guy? The How to Hunt guy. That guy's got like about 4 million viewers, right? And I've listened to lots and lots. It's like 1 out of 100 is actually friends with the Sasquatch, and even then, they're not really friends. They're just friendly. But to have people who are interacting with the Sasquatch on kind of a heart level and a mentor or family kind of a level,
Well, Keith
that's
Bearden,
that's
I,
powerful.
I know Keith Bearden is one.
He's
Don
watching.
McNally.
He was watching, by the way. You can say
Yeah.
shout out to him.
Oh yeah. Hi Keith. How you doing, buddy? He's getting ready to move in with his lady. I'm so happy for him. His health is doing better. He's just a great guy. Don McNally Jones, also,
Yeah.
she's another one that interacts with him constantly. A matter of fact, I'm jealous. Dawn has more interaction with them than I think anybody else ever has.
You can't say that
Well, oh,
because
sorry.
not everybody tells what they
Well,
have going
you got
on.
the point.
Yeah,
That's right.
because
You know,
people get
but
into that and they look at that and they go, oh, that person has more than anybody else, or this person says, I've had more interaction. The thing is, we don't really know how many people out there are living this kind of life. You
Yeah,
know,
and I talk about it.
so
And
I live in the
I've
middle
never
of
seen
them and
Sasquatch. I went
have.
into the woods one time for like
So
15, 20 minutes. But
yeah,
and so you can see I have almost zero experience with Sasquatch, except that one Sasquatch stuck his hand inside my body, inside my heart, and took over my breathing. And that was like in
Yeah,
2012. From then to now, every day when I connect to my breathing, I'm feeling the Sasquatch people. I
yeah,
mean, it's very hard for me to kind of comprehend anybody who has
yeah,
more experience than
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Every
yeah,
breath
yeah,
you take, you
yeah.
know what I mean? That's the kind of people that they are. They can do that kind of stuff, you
Yeah.
know? And
I've
there's
been,
other people, I'm not the only one. There's other people having like every day, every night, you know,
It
well, they've been,
depends
Yeah.
too. It
depends.
depends on where you're at, what you're doing. If you know, if you're open to that. One of the things Kashima told me was, do not try to live our life 24/7. 24/7 was said for my reference. It wouldn't be
yeah,
typically something he would
that-
say
that's
because
why I
it
back away from it from time to time.
yeah, it will take you. And I've seen that happen where people
It
lose
destroyed all.
everything.
Yep, they've lost
Yeah.
their mates, everything,
Yeah.
to
Oh,
it. So
so
yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I've
yeah,
been very careful to tread lightly through it, because I don't want that happening. I
yeah,
don't want it to be my only focus in life is, just the Sasquatch. It's like, no, I got a life to live, and they're
yeah.
fine with it.
Well,
I
and
think
we can't plant seeds and share things if we're totally embroiled in their life. And my grandmother
I
always
agree.
said,
yeah,
they're our neighbors. And sometimes you interact with your neighbors and sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
And
Sometimes
it's
you close
it's
the
a
door.
respectful thing.
Yeah.
Now, I can post something constantly about things that are going on with me, but I don't, because I don't think that it's that important for me to do that, because my focus always has been for the humans.
yeah,
And and the way I was told to do that was to be there to share. I don't share everything. I never
I don't
have,
either.
and I
I
never
still got a
will.
lot.
Yeah, because I don't feel like I need to do that. My connection through them is to help humans begin to understand for themselves, not what Arla says, but for them to gain their own understanding about what they're going through,
yeah,
Because everybody gets
So,
a message, and
yeah,
everybody has a
Yeah.
different
yeah,
avenue or
yeah,
different. We call it walking the red road. We all have a path to go on.
yeah,
Sometimes we veer off the path, but we always end up back on that path. Well, at
I,
least hopefully end up back on that path.
ideally, what happens is that, we go into looking for Sasquatch, like Arla said, and I found out, and
yeah,
we end up finding who we are, is
And that's what's happening.
yeah.
Is
And I would hope, and I would bet that everyone here, and it better be that way. Otherwise, there's something lacking, I think, is that everyone here would not trade places with their experiences and their connection with any any other one here. I know I
no,
wouldn't, and it's not
no,
because it's better or it's
It's all
more
personal.
evolved. Oh, I'm getting hit up with big time energy right now. It's not because it's better or it's more evolved or
not at
more
all.
sightings or more anything. It's because it's custom made for you, and it's
Yep.
where they want you to be and where they're leading you. And boy, is RE ever, I almost feel like crying now. He's got me really.
That's what I was saying about
But hold on a second, Beans.
It's
Well,
not
I'm
about that.
talking.
It's about what we're talking about now. It's about life transformation,
Hang on,
connection to
Beans.
something way
Uh,
bigger than we are.
RE's coming through. Can I
I'm sorry.
can I finish my
I'm
thought?
sorry, Ari. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought it was Brian.
Well, we're both yeah. Well, we're very very good at trying to slide in there. Just when the pauses, we get like because it's kind of hard to otherwise this. No, but it's true. We're exactly where we want to be, and we should all be really really happy with our path as it is. And man, and that's what I'm saying that is what RE is saying today
Yeah.
to everybody here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go off and cry in a minute because it's pretty deep stuff. But you know what I mean, and you know that, Ma, and
Yeah.
and all of us kind of know that. I would
It's
think.
personal. You
And
go
that's the
out
thing.
to find out about them, and if
And you
your
find out
heart's
about
open,
yourself.
you're going to find out about yourself and
See,
who
that's
you
what
are.
I've been trying to do is get myself back. And
Yeah.
that's what they're helping me facilitate. They've also been helping me in healing. I have neuropathy in my feet. I've crushed my back a couple times. And here a couple months ago, I was having severe back pain plus my feet, so I wasn't sleeping. I woke up to a hot hand on my back. And I mean, it was hot.
Woohoo!
And I could feel it was a hand.
Doggy,
Yeah.
And so our females
Doggy.
typically healers, in the clans.
what's
I
that?
think it'd be either or.
Yeah,
What
because
I didn't catch your question. Are they primarily the
All the
healers, the
females are
females?
healers. And
I don't
it's
think
exclusive.
gender
Doesn't-
matters.
No,
well, it doesn't matter, yeah. Because I figure it was probably about from the size of it was probably Mama's hand.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
Silver's hand would have covered pretty much my whole back. Then
I think because they're people, just to see how I slid right in there. I think because they're people that like all people, male and female, have different skill sets, and so I would say that the Sasquatch are the same. Some will be
well, it's just
healers, some will
just
be
like with the mind speaks. Some do, some don't. Some will speak verbally to you. Some won't speak to you at all, and others will speak to you in the mind speak.
Right.
They're all different and all individual that way. But yeah,
Well,
also, I didn't have any back pain for some time after that at all. I mean, it was like it was such relief, and I thanked him. Boy, did I thank him.
Yeah. That's a whole other subject to healing. I mean, I saw my clan heal a lady right around the campfire at one of my gatherings, and Thom's got the most amazing story where they healed his heart, and I mean and they've been teaching me a little bit about healing too, or making me remember about that, and so healing is a big part of who they are. And it's healing physically, it's healing your heart, it's healing your spirit, all that stuff.
Well, let me go on with my last sighting, number 6. This was September 13th. September 13th of last year. And well, I got up there, and like I said, I had been at the spring for probably 3-4 hours, maybe even 5 hours. It was starting to get later in the day. And didn't really have any activity going on there, but I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go up the mountain, which is towards where the big asterisk is. There's a gravel pit that I have to cross, and from past the gravel pit is where I see activity for about the next, pretty close to the next mile. And there's a little bit on beyond that, but not heavy activity. So I'm up there, and I'm looking at the banks, because they're very steep. I mean, this is really a steep mountain. And I'm looking at one spot where I see kind of a triangle where there had been a little path up to one side, another path up the other side, but I'm seeing we're into the sidestep thing, where they had sidestepped going up and sidestep going up this way. And then it leads into a path that you could tell had a lot of activity. And that's what I was doing. I was looking at this, and I'm 2 miles from the top of the mountain. And because the roadway on this road measures from the top to the bottom. So any mile markers is on the way from the top down. And I'm right at the 2 mile marker. And I'm looking at these, and all of a sudden I hear whap against the tree, probably couldn't have been 50 yards away. So I hollered out, JJ, that you? I know your knock. And so I went, okay, well, I'm going to give you guys a minute or two. So I went to the back of my van and I'm just chatting away with them because I always talk to them and talk about anything and everything, love, life, happiness, the whole 9 yards. And I come back around the front of the van after about 10 minutes and I see Mama standing there. And JJ was to the right of the tree and he was up like this and standing there watching me. So I started talking to him. I said, hey guys, I'm going to do something. I went back and got my guitar and I sat on the back tailgate of my van and played guitar for about 45 minutes to them. They seemed to enjoy it. They didn't throw tomatoes at me or anything. That's after that is when I asked Mama for a photograph, is when I took the 2 pictures that I took. And as soon as I mentioned photographs, the JJ took off. And I called him out loud, chicken shit. I hope he didn't take too much offense to that. Apparently not. But I was laughing about it. But I took about 15 minutes of explaining to her what I know she knows what it was. You know, she could pull it right out of my mind if she wanted to. But I took the time to really explain what a photograph was. And the big thing was that it's a memory captured in time of the moment. That I told her human brains are fallible and memories are fallible. These are ways of showing that we can look at and go back in time to that moment, that very moment, you know, when that picture was taken. And so for memory, I said, I would love to, you know, have it at home so I can look up and, you know, it kind of makes me feel closer to you guys. So I said, I'm going to take 2 pictures, and it was taken on this phone right here. And they're still on there. And she allowed me 2 pictures. One thing I just found the other day is I blew it up in my phone. JJ, he didn't quite take off all the way. He's actually right behind her, looking out sideways. So I've captured that, and I'll show Thom when I see him. But that sighting lasted an hour and a half I got to spend with him. And I'm the one that actually ended it, not them. I told them I got to go. I need to take care of things at home, and you know, because it was starting to get dark. And I usually only spent the afternoons up there and stuff, and I usually leave about 4 o'clock, which it was right around that time. And I thanked him for the day and for letting me take photographs and for listening to my terrible guitar playing. I've only been playing for 45 years. And off I went. So, and that was the end of that sighting. So I just thought it was great. I thought I'm going to end this as kind of an experiment to see if they would get upset with me. And everything seemed to be okay, and it still seems to be okay.
Well, I know with my teenager little buddy, for instance, we like teasing each other back and forth and you know, kind of sarcastic remarks because they like when we treat them like we would any other human being.
Well,
so
what
you said at the beginning of that thing, they probably appreciated because you didn't differentiate like they were anything different or special or removed, you know.
I treat them like a best friend or family.
Right, exactly. So I want to ask you, that's the way it should be. So I want to ask you, because I guess we should really be wrapping up pretty soon. But I wanted to ask you just so how is your and I know Beans kind of asked this a little bit too, but let's end up with how has your life changed since your relationship with Sasquatch, and where do you want to be? What's your goal?
I don't really have a goal. I'm just seeing where they're going to lead me. You know, part of my goal is to open up the abilities I used to have. You know, I still have them, and they come in handy when, I don't know why, but when things are really stressed and things are going on and I need them, they're there. They just all of a sudden poof. I can read, like my last girlfriend. I guess she was getting divorced. They were split up. She was with me, but I had the feeling that she was cheating on me with her husband. You know, going back to him, and I could read her mind. I could read her thoughts, and it just drove her nuts because she knew I could. And it didn't matter where I was or anything else. I could tell her exactly what she was thinking, what was going on, where she was. This was happening. You were talking this and that, and it just drove her crazy. So things where I need it as protection is when they come back to me, is when I get those abilities back. But then they're sporadic and intermittent. So I've been asking them to kind of, I can handle those things now, is to kind of open that up. And another thing is where I would like to see myself is basically raising my vibration, because I think with the things that are going on in the world today, I think there's some really serious things that are about to go down. And these are things that I was shown a long time after my lady love passed away. It's been almost 26 years now. I was driving from Myrtle Creek to Eugene. I woke up about Cottage Grove driving down the freeway because I was kind of taken off to the side somehow and showing a bunch of things that are going to happen that she wanted me, that I needed to know.
Were you
I
talking
think
about missing time and so it has some kind of out of body or matrix reality that you went to?
similar, very similar to it.
Or like a vision, or like a vision quest or something?
It's kind of like a vision, but it's something that's being presented to me. It's showing these are the things that are going to happen. This is why I have these skills. This is why I've had this quest for certain types of knowledge, that there are reasons for it all, and it's all going to accumulate and all come together at one time. There's a lot of crazy things going on in this world right now, especially here in the United States, with the regime that we have. But basically, we're entering into a dictatorship with our Mr. Biden and company. And it's basically a hostile takeover of the elite, of pretty much the entire planet. That's pretty much what COVID was. Can we lock them down? Can we put them under martial law and military law and keep everybody indoors and, pull this whole thing off? Well, they did. And it's going to get worse.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hope our show doesn't get taken off now, because we had one that was removed because of medical misinformation.
Yeah, you said about that the other day. I do remember that.
So we gotta be careful. We gotta be careful what we say.
I will just get off that subject, but I'm looking for.
But no, you just don't say key words or whatever. But I don't think you said too much. I don't think you said too much.
What they're doing is they're helping me be me again.
Yeah.
I haven't been me in a long time. Since my lady passed away. When she passed away, half of me went with her. And I've never been the same since. I was very happy, very intuitive, very, very lively. And it just all went away. And they're helping me get that back.
Yeah.
And in the past year and a half.
By the way, I didn't disagree with what you said. We got
one of the things we have to be careful about is we are manifesting this reality.
Yeah.
And the reality that you see will be the reality that you manifest for yourself.
Yeah. That's why you raise your vibrations up high.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason why.
None of that
is the cat dead.
None of that is important. If your vibrations are above 3D, then none of that affects what's going on. And that is one of the things that's being brought to so many, is that, yes, we manifest what it is that we think, where we put that time. And that's one of the things that they've helped so many people with, is to let all of those things go. Because if your vibrations raise, that will have no validity in your life any longer.
You're 100% right, Arla. You're 100% right.
And
no fear about it too, right? Sorry.
And that's where I'm at right now. And that's what they're doing to me. Because I've always posted most of my life. I started writing political papers when I was 14 years old and been published since then. articles to editors and everything else and been published. It's all been in politics. When I was 14, I was offered to be a congressional page, to go to Washington and be a page under a congressman. So I've always been very political. I've always paid attention and kept my finger on the pulse. I know what's going on in this entire planet at any given time. But lately, it's not important to me anymore. Arla struck a note right there. Is those things if you see my pages, I used to post that stuff all the time. Everything that's going on. I still post a few things here and there, but it used to be constant. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Sit around because I wanted to make people aware of what was happening, what's going on. But now,
Yeah,
I was thinking about this the other day. That's the funny part of this whole thing, is that I'm thinking, going, I've really gotten away from all that stuff. I'm not doing that anymore.
exactly.
I very rarely put anything out and say anything to anybody. I see all these other ones, Conspiracy Central and all this other stuff, other friends of mine, and I'm like, it's not important anymore to me. And that's so they are raising me up.
Yeah.
The reason,
because all that
the
is making
reason,
me different.
the reason is because when you put your energy into that, you're in that vibration.
That's it.
You're
Like I
in
said,
that
it's-
vibration. So, and
it's
it's
sort
hold
of-
on a second. It's all about like, or the vibration of judgment or fear, or whatever. So being aware of this stuff is one thing, but when you let it affect your vibration, I mean, like when I'm in my best place, like Arla is talking about or whatever, none of that stuff bothers me at all. And I've got no fear about it.
No.
But
Yeah,
but I'm
that's
aware,
what
but I'm also aware of it. I'm
I'm
also
aware
aware of it, but
not
I'm not
a
gonna
anymore.
let it drag me down to that. And I'm not, I'm not always there, as Arla knows.
Well, none of us are.
None of us
None
are.
of us are. It's easy to slip right back into that until you get to the point where that is this 3D life. That's what goes on in this third dimension. Well, if we truly want to know who we are and who they are, we're going to have to get out of that third dimension thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And when we're in that vibration, we absolutely know that's where we're supposed to be, and we know it's right, and we know that, and hopefully we get better and better at not falling back.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Bill. What do you think is gonna, and we have to wrap up soon, but this is an important question. What do you think? If there is a big change in the world, and it might just be a conscious shift or whatever, I'm not sure how it's going to happen. I think it might just be a vibrational shift. But what do you think is going to happen to the people who, is there going to be? What do you think is going to? What do you think is going to happen to? I'm not going to say us and them, but vibrational high people and the opposite.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. It's going to be us and them. The ones that aren't doing that are they're glued to the TV. They're in that hypnosis of what's going on. I think
life will go on for them in the 3D world. Life will go on for them.
But yeah, you're mentioning that there's going to be a separation.
Yeah.
See,
what do you think that separation is going to be? Sorry, Bill. What do you think that separation is going to be? How is that separation going to be realized? I mean, I got my thoughts, but I want your thoughts on it. How's it going to be realized? The us and them, and that's kind of like clinical and cold because I hate saying it like that because we're actually all one. But how is that separation going to be realized?
Same way you separate your butt from your chair, you stand up.
Very wise, very.
Actually, I think some are going to be placed elsewhere. That's going to be the separation. Some are that are in one group are going to be, given the keys, and the other ones are going to be taken away basically and placed in some other place.
Is that how you see it, Ma?
Yeah, pretty much. Other than there will be some who will be called to go back and forth.
Well, but
Because
hopefully
there is
you
still a need
help out.
for those
Yep.
that will be left, and not left, because that's a
Yeah, it's not left. It's
we're
just
thinking
it's a
of it
separate.
in a human term, and it's not. It's a higher vibration than that 3D human thought. But there will be those that still
Mhm.
uh, can make a choice. I mean, it's not like this cut and dried thing. Okay, you're over here and you're
Oh
over
no,
here, and
it's free
you
will.
know,
That's the thing about being a human being is we have free will, and
yep,
we can change our minds.
Okay.
yep,
And we can wake up and get that all of a sudden, ding, ding, ding. We
yep,
get that moment, that the light comes on and goes, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? I need to go
Yeah.
this way, not this
Yeah.
way.
yep.
Let's
You know,
let, let's let Arla,
Excuse,
let's let Arla
excuse me,
finish your thought for a
everybody.
second.
Excuse me,
What?
everybody. I've got to go. I wanted to say
Okay.
goodbye. It's been very interesting.
Where,
and
where
I'll
you
catch
going?
you. I've been being paged. Okay.
Paged.
Yeah.
food.
All
And
right,
that,
white-haired
and that's
boy.
more important than the pork and bean show?
Yeah.
It is taught. Let it go.
Oh,
But I
I'll
got to
tell you.
run. So thank you very much.
Well, I
And
will
catch
see
up
you
on
in
a
about
nice
a
one.
week.
Hmm?
I will
So,
see you soon.
so
All right. Take
okay,
care
Tom.
now. Bye
So
bye.
finish
Bye.
your finish
Bye.
finish your thought, Arla. Finish your thought. I want you to finish your thought on that.
I don't even know if I got a thought now. What do you mean? Uh, it's there are times when we have left this 3D world. One of those times is during the love zap, what Talk calls the love zap. When you have that, you are not in a 3D world.
No.
You're on another planet.
So
Because your
that's
brain
only,
stops working.
yeah, yep. So when you're in that vibration of letting all those things go, and I'm not saying to not speak out about injustice. I'm not. I'm saying be careful how you speak about these things, because that's very important.
Yeah,
If
not to do it in a hateful way.
yes, because conversation's over, ears are closed. And so we have to be very careful how we speak out about these things that we see that shouldn't be happening. When we slander somebody, when we do it in anger, that's the vibration we're in. And so we've
Right.
pulled ourselves back into that 3D vibrational life. Part of the time I walk around in a different vibration than this 3D, but I'm
Right.
still in this 3D trying to
Get to the end.
yeah, just trying to let this happen as it's supposed to happen. And
Yeah.
it is happening. I see it in people every day. I see people who have been so disrespectful and so caught up in hate and war and all of these things that they have it just begins to eat them. It begins to take who they are when they're in their heart. And
Yeah.
that's why I always tell people, and I've told people this for years, if you do something to hurt me disrespectfully, I'm going to send you peace and love in your life, because I know that that peace and love is going to mean more to you than all of the hateful rhetoric I could sling back at you, because it would not serve me to do that or to hurt somebody in that way. So that's a place we have to get. And when I see those signs in people, I go, oh my gosh, they're getting it. That vibration is rising now. They're getting
Yeah,
closer. And, yeah, I've got the chills now. I'm getting,
So do I.
yeah.
I'm
I've
getting
been, I've been
revved up
vibrating
here.
for 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, it's all, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's
And
absolutely, I mean,
that's the core of their teaching.
yes,
That is the
yes.
core of their teaching.
Yeah, I mean, I had direct lessons to it, like where I was in a very high vibration, like a practice, almost like a workshop. Driving down the road, I'm in a really high, beautiful vibration, and I start hating on somebody that I thought did me something wrong, and my vibration plummets, and I thought, wait a minute, no. So I took those thoughts, I took that stinking thinking out of my head, and I went right back up again.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
You
trying to
can't,
do
you
right
can't
now.
battle, these things with the same energy. It's got to be,
Correct.
tackled with love. It's got to be
It
approached
does.
with love.
That's the only way you're going to get through it, is to do that and to share that love with that thing that is creating that. And when we get to that place where somebody does something to us, or we don't like what they said or anything else, we can just not judge it, but do what it is we need to do and send them peace and love.
Yeah.
Shower that with peace and love, because none of that
Mhm.
other can live in
Yeah.
that
I
space.
I know when I'm doing that, and I know when I'm doing it, and when I'm
Yes,
at that place, I know that's where I want to be. The secret is
yes.
I want to stay there and remember and catch myself and
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
a key too, Todd, is when you go into that and then you go, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to be in this vibration. This is
Seeing what
not
you're
where I'm
doing.
supposed to be. You can just let that go and you rise right back up to that vibration where that doesn't exist in your life. None of that exists in the heart.
No,
The heart doesn't address any of that. The heart addresses love and understanding and
Yep,
peace.
the
and
heart is our second
connection, and
brain.
yes, and connection.
It's
Yeah,
actually physically measurable. The energy that comes from your heart, long
Yep.
ways away from your body. So that's where things
Yes.
are protected from.
yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, that's a pretty good kick at the can as far as uh looking at that from the vibration raising thing or whatever. I mean, I agree. Well, I mean, that's that I I know what you're talking about, Arla, because I try.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
seen me. You've
Yep.
seen me kind of. I'm getting hit up again. Arby's
I've
giving me
seen a big
a big love.
change in you. I've seen a big change in you. Of course, I know you very well. But I've seen a big change in you since 2018 when we were at Enum Claw at the conference. I've seen things just become in a better way for you. Just letting things go and rising to, what it is that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and RE had a big part of that,
Yes.
and you did, and
Yes.
I
he's
can't wait to meet
God,
Ari.
that big guy, man. He's just making me want to cry right now. And don't forget, Arla, you are not. Ari is not suggesting you come here in September. He is saying you are going to be here.
Yes, he is. There's
And you
no
better be
doubt.
here, hell or high water. 'Cause
Oh yeah,
you
if
don't
I
want to get
have
him
to,
pissed off.
yeah, if I have to walk. But
Yep.
surely they wouldn't make me walk.
Just like I know
Uh,
I'm supposed to be there.
RE
Yeah.
and RE and R. I mean, RE's part of me. Like I feel like we're almost like share the same soul or something almost, or
You
something
share
we
the
share.
you
What?
share the same love. You share the
Yeah.
same love.
Same love, the same
And
vibration.
and it was such a beautiful thing, and made me feel so. When I saw that Arla and RE interacting, it was like I could share with you that, because I know what he's all about, and it just really touched my heart that you got to know him on such an intimate
Yeah.
level, and
Yeah.
still do. Yeah, because he's a pretty great guy, really.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I
That
can't
he,
wait.
Yeah.
it's
So on
gonna
that,
be fun.
He's a big guy.
Yes, he is. Yes, he
Very
is.
big guy.
and he's almost as handsome as Mr. Beans.
Oh, that
He's
couldn't
the
happen.
it can't happen, but he's the second most handsome man in the world.
If you wanna know how to raise your vibration, you're willing to put some effort into it, I can tell you how to do it.
Okay, lay it on us, Michael.
I'll send you some information. Just directly from
Yeah.
the Sasquatch of how to raise the vibration of your heart. And if you raise your vibration high enough, you go invisible.
Which is what you probably want me to do right now.
No, the thing is the energy in your heart, right? The energy in your
Look
heart.
at my hair went invisible.
Well, that works, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm cloaked from here up.
Yeah, but no, he hook up with him. He'll send you some stuff, good stuff. So anyway, guys, well, thank you, Mustanger, for stopping in,
having
and
me, Ryan.
I think we had a pretty good kick at the can. And next time you come on, send me the pictures beforehand so that we can look. I can screen share them or whatever. It just works a little better. Although,
then we'll talk about some of my stories from my research, and rather than sightings and stuff, and some of the things that have happened in that area.
yeah, the big focus of the show is, I think the biggest focus is the connection,
Mhm.
not only with the Sasquatch, but of everything.
Yep.
And that's what the show is focused on. And that's why I love doing this show, because, if you can get people to consider that and to be, well, consider it and maybe adopt it in some way, then that's a good day. That's
And
a
I
good
can
day
say
for
one
everyone.
thing, Arla and I are supposed to meet each other.
Ah.
If you
I've-
can
I've
make a
felt
really
that.
strong connection with the
I have
Sasquatch,
felt that since I read your book.
Ah.
if you can
Well,
make a
we
really
will in September.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Well,
Mr. Beans. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say, if you can make a connection, that's this kind of a deep, heartfelt connection with the Sasquatch people, and they nurture us along, right? Then you can
Yep.
also make that same kind of connection to the earth, to the rocks, to the trees,
Yep.
to the air.
I do.
That's a pretty high vibration. That's a nice way to live.
That's what I do half the time I'm up in my area. Is I'm enjoying what's around me more than anything else. Even if I don't connect with them that day, I'm looking at the rocks. I feel the rocks. I feel the plants, the trees, the wind. I enjoy the beauty of everything that I see and that I'm around.
You know when I feel the rocks the most?
When they hit
When I
you.
take is when is when I take my shoes off and try to cross those creeks with those rocks on it. Man, that hurts. I'm a tenderfoot.
Aqua shoes, Brian. Aqua shoes.
I know. I actually have those, but sometimes I forget to pack them. So anyway, guys, I guess we pretty well said everything we can say for today. Otherwise, this show could go on for 5 hours. We've never had 5 yet, so I don't think we.
Oh, you're 440 now, 340 now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, we can
340
do
now.
some of my research.
Yeah. So anyway,
We-
Bill, I guess we'll see you up here in September. I'll give you one of my books
Absolutely.
if you're interested.
Shoot me a message of what I need to bring with me, and we'll get it figured out.
Bring your heart and a little bit of food.
Okay.
That's all you gotta bring. Everything else is
Well,
paid for.
I understand when I cross the border, it has to be labeled, packaged, and say made in the USA somewhere.
I don't think
Or-
so.
That's
They never get that complicated. They just say you're bringing any guns, or you're bringing any
Knives.
fruit.
two of them.
Knives. That's what they asked me. Are you bringing any knives? And I'm
Well,
thinking,
let's see there.
I'm
I don't
going
know, man.
camping.
I haven't worked my biceps in a few days. I think I'll give you we'll have a quit the gun show.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But
All right,
anyway,
guys.
Well,
I really appreciate
thanks
you
for
having
showing
me
up.
on. Thanks for having me.
And
thank you
Arla, for holding the
Thank you
holding
for
the
being there,
space.
Arla.
I loved it.
Holding the space
I
the
loved
whole
it.
show.
Oh,
I will
I
send
don't.
you. I will send you that heart picture.
Okay, what'd you say, Beans?
I said, thanks for holding space. I could feel you holding space for the whole show.
Beans must be in a really high vibration right now because he's talking like, thank you. Oh, he's talking so soft and loving, and
He's
thank you for
been
being here.
going in and out this whole show.
Yeah, that's because he's having a smoke.
No, I don't think that's it. I'm not talking about getting up and going out. I'm talking
Yeah, they
about
want me to quit smoking.
Okay, everybody. I mean, we could go and go and go and go, but
Yeah.
anyway.
We've actually out-talked our audience. They're all gone now.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
The comments stopped about 20 minutes ago.
yeah.
oh, okay. Well, anyway, on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans. This has been the Pork and Bean Show. Thank you to our almost regular co-host. I mean, she's on a lot. Ma Cobbler, or Peach Cobbler, or Arla Collette, or just
Or
plain old
Colette
Ma.
Williams, or
Yeah. What was the other one that you got? The High Priestess?
was I the High Priestess of Woo or something? I don't know. And I made Bigfoot Horror of the Month too. So
Bigfoot Horror. Bigfoot Horror.
we humans are a unique species.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill, for
Thank you, Brian.
yeah. I'm used to looking at Mustang or Bill. I'm trying to think of your Bill.
Bill
William
Morris.
Morris,
right?
Jack. That's the easiest way to remember.
Philip's
thank you.
cousin.
Yeah. So thank you to William Morris or Mustang or Bill or the Pipe Man.
I think you're doing pretty good, man. You're like a shining star.
That's awesome.
When you wish upon a star, then you'll know just where you are.
You're
I don't even know
outside.
the word. What?
I said you're outside. That's where I'm
Hallelujah.
going.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Well, back to the song.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for
Yeah,
everybody
thanks,
for
guys.
watching. Hey, if anybody wants to subscribe and like our show, please do on Facebook, Pork and Bean Show. If you want to, if you want to check out my YouTube channel, the Sasquatch BC The True Story. We got every episode of our show on there and a bunch of teachings from RE and stuff like that. And my book, My Life with the Clan of RE, or a Sasquatch story, My Life with the Clan of RE, is on Amazon. And I don't put it on there to make money. I put it on there to try to open up some hearts. So if you're interested in that perspective and that, then check that out too. And thanks
And if
everybody
you
for
want to
coming.
be on the show, you have to bring a note from your Sasquatch friends that says you're. If they say if you get a note,
Oh my gosh.
It'll have to be a mental note.
it could be a feather, you know.
Yeah. All right.
Bye,
Adios.
guys.
Good night.